And then, a couple of us are getting Tony Gonzalez on the air.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere, and tracking him down and staying on, the guy constantly like, oh, let me go find him. No, he sent me his bill. I'm going to text him again.
Yeah.
Like, all right, that dude, he was a bulldog there. So great work for Easton, because I think we got 3 or 4 interviews on the air that we didn't have scheduled based on Easton just tracking people down and getting them on the air. So well done for Easton, and we wrapped up the show with a crazy day on a Friday leading into the Super Bowl. And 17-2 was the final tally. 17-2, Seahawks over Patriots, the final tally of the people we had on the air. And it kind of went to form. But go ahead, Sterling. You were going to say something real quick before we get in and break down the game.
Yeah, real quick. First time in San Francisco, and the duplicitous nature of, or even the dichotomy of San Francisco is wild. Most beautiful city I've ever been to, and I saw a guy legitimately doing drugs at the same time in the background of the most gorgeous area I've been to. It was,
I would say,
weird, amazing, and I want to go back.
There was the area that's called Tenderloin, where a lot of the media was staying, was pretty rough. And then outside of that area, freaking beautiful.
Yeah, it was
absolutely gorgeous.
It was a wild place.
Yeah, the Sunshine State. Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
I did all the way to the Golden Gate Bridge just to find out it's not even gold.
Yeah.
They're liars. Why do they call it? It should be the Red Gate Bridge. It's red.
Yeah, well, that's true. I FaceTimed when we got over there just so I could FaceTime with the kids to show them where Michelle and the family for Full House are driving on the bridge at the opening for the Full House. Big fans of Full House in the Anderson household. So yeah. 913-912-4810. Let's get into it. I think the best team in the NFL won last night. Not often do we talk about the best team. I think the best team in the AFC, the way they were playing at the end of the season, was Jacksonville. They ended up losing to Buffalo. Patriots get there, so it's not like the Patriots were not deserving. That is not what I'm saying. Just as we talk about the Bengals in 2021, the Bengals, it's not that they were not deserving. I didn't think they were the best team in the AFC that year. It was Chiefs, Bills, and then maybe Bengals after that. The Chiefs had the ultimate meltdown in the second half of that AFC Championship game. But we've seen teams make the Super Bowl and even win the Super Bowl when you're like, man, felt like that was somebody else's year. Felt like that was somebody else's Super Bowl to win that particular year, but they did not win it. This felt like throughout the second half of the season that it was Seattle's Super Bowl to lose, the way they were playing in the NFC, especially with the wide open nature of the AFC and no real team sort of establishing themselves as the team in the AFC. And so Seattle winning last night the way that they did in, let's be honest, dominant fashion over the Patriots, no surprise. There are some things to take away from how they did it and how they were built and what we saw, but not a lot to take away in terms of, man, how did they pull this off over the Patriots? And little plays here, there, knew that huge third down that, flipped the entire game. And boy, they're going to be thinking about that one. There was no particular play in this one last night that you go, boy, Patriots fans are going to be up all night. They aren't going to be able to sleep for the next year thinking about that particular play. Or Seahawks fans, this was just a start to finish, the best team on the field, looked like the best team, and I think probably the most deserving team in terms of the best team in the NFL won the Super Bowl last night.
I just think this is a situation where this was old school football, where it wasn't a quarterback out-dueling, it wasn't Peyton Manning out-dueling someone or Tom Brady. Sam Darnold was fine. I mean, he was fine. I think
he won the MVP last night.
I think the definition of fine. Kenneth Walker was outstanding on the ground. I thought Seattle's defense was just so good. Drake May he sacked 6 times, could have been a lot more. Drake May wasn't great.
Could have been 7, but they called it an interception instead of the sack fumble.
Good call. I mean, you look at this Seattle team, it's built different. This was the definition and the encapsulation of 25-26 football in the NFL. It wasn't the best quarterbacks. It wasn't Josh. It wasn't Patrick. It wasn't Joe. It wasn't Lamar. It was Sam Darnold and the defense and run game coupled with a really good offensive line that got it done.
Jack, how'd you experience the Super Bowl not sitting here in studio watching it and getting ready for a post-game show?
I was able to have a few drinks and enjoy
you had those
my time.
anyway.
Let's be honest. But no, watching that game, I have a hard time just saying overall it was an unwatchable mess and people rooted against the Chiefs not to make it, and then you get a Super Bowl like that. But then also in the same conversation, I can acknowledge that last year was an unwatchable mess. And it's different because last year you had people that were wanting that to happen. You didn't want to see the Chiefs win for a third consecutive time. You wanted to see them get blown out if you were a anti-Chiefs fan.
Mm-hmm.
Last night, I'm not sure you had anybody anywhere in the country that was so against one of these teams. I get New England had a dynastic run. It's just not the same New England team that it once was. They're kind of the upstart young team, cool coach to follow. Drake May's a young and upcoming quarterback. But then you just watch this game, and Seattle just kind of put any sort of doubt that they could do it to put together, 3 consecutive dominant performances. The Rams won. It was closer than, of course, San Francisco and last night, but I still thought it was a dominant performance for Seattle. It wasn't really a snooze fest, but there wasn't much of a storyline in this one, I guess I would say. Whereas last year, it was a blowout, and it was, this offensive line is the story of the Eagles ravaging the Chiefs' front and getting the pad. Very similar to Bucks and Chiefs in the COVID year. Last night, it was just one of those methodical ass kickings. Like it was never close, but they were never in that game. They didn't cross midfield until the third quarter? I don't believe they crossed midfield in the first half, yet Seattle was up 9-0. And you're going, well, it's not really close. 9-0 feels like 40-0, oddly enough. And then, yes, there was the moment where Mac Hollins has the touchdown. You go, oh, one stop here, and then maybe we can have a one-score game. And then Seattle puts him at the one. Mm-hmm. And then everything was done after that. So the way I view it's still the Super Bowl. It was nice to see the team I was rooting for win that one. I certainly wasn't going to root for New England, even though it's a different version of the Patriots and not the Tom Brady Patriots. But if you're a defensive fan, if you love scooping scores, or I guess it was a pick six because it was knocked out of his hand and right into his arms. But if you love defense, that was a clinic that was put on display. They had Drake May in hell all night. He never looked comfortable. Even the wide open throws, they were never close. It was leading him too far. It was behind him. And that was from the first play. The first moment I can remember was the pass behind Hunter Henry.
Yep.
Wide open on the RPO, throws it behind him. And then it was
Kobe Bryant that should have intercepted it.
Light him up. Not even sure he saw the football hit him in the chest. But I got to tip my cap to that. I mean, it wasn't the most exhilarating game, but if you appreciate defense, that was an absolute clinic put on display.
It was a game to where, from start to finish, not that it was a bad note, but it was a one-note game. Because from the beginning of the game, 4 quarters played out from what we saw early on. There didn't ever feel like, okay, this has changed in this direction. Seattle was constantly pressuring Drake May. Kenneth Walker was breaking runs. Seattle was getting stopped down in the red zone or near the red zone and kicking field goals. Special teams for the Seahawks continued to be one of the best units in the NFL. They were one of the best special teams units in the NFL this year, and it showed last night again. Drake May inaccurate. It was the entire game felt like the same thing every single possession. And if the Patriots picked up a first down or two, that became oh, wow, that's kind of a surprise. That the Patriots even moved the ball a little bit. It was just a dominant game. And the surprise for me in that feeling like a one-note game was, for all the love we give Josh McDaniels, it never really felt like they were able to ever adjust to what was happening. The Seahawks were sending the same blitz over and over again, and Will Campbell was getting his ass kicked over and over again all game.
Well, that might be the conversation of, did the shorter arms, is that what we saw?
I don't think an inch and a half keeps you from getting bulldozed back to Drake May time and time again.
I would concur with that.
I think he's a guard playing tackle, and we sort of saw that last night.
But I think it's a good call. There was really a lack of adjustment. The Seattle Seahawks did the same thing over and over and over again. Honestly, Myers probably should have been the MVP.
He could have been.
I thought that would have been pretty fun to have a kicker as MVP. But I think there were some takeaways in this game that can be used for Kansas City. One, Kenneth Walker made himself a lot of money, and I would love Kenneth Walker, he's a free agent, to be a Kansas City Chief. There was talks about that potential, I feel like, a few weeks ago. And then Kenneth Walker went on this incredible playoff run.
Well, especially after Charbonnet tore his ACL, it kind of felt like Kenneth Walker to the Chiefs was kind of a done deal.
Kind of a, yeah.
Or at least a done dream.
No, yeah.
It's not a done deal.
Longer.
Yes.
And then again, I think the Chiefs, you saw, they have to have the pass rush. Because that was the game. All playoffs were who had the better pass rush. It's changed, it's evolved, and the pass rush for Seattle had so many guys. They weren't doing these crazy things. It wasn't Spagnuolo drawing up, 99 different blitzes. It was, hey, we're just going to beat you guys because we're better than you. And Seattle did that time and time and time again. And happy for Sam Darnold because he no longer sees ghosts, and he passed the ghosts off to Drake May.
Yeah. I do love the commentary, and we'll get into this. 913-912-4810. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back and talk a little bit more. Some of the takeaways and how it relates to the Kansas City Chiefs. Sterling hit on one of those right there that I want to get into and discuss as this offseason gets ready to start up, or officially the offseason is here for all of the teams. So we'll start to discuss that as the days go on. The Combine coming up in a few weeks. We'll get into some of those things as well. But the takeaways from last night's game and how it relates to the Chiefs and decisions they have to make. And also, what I enjoyed last night was the commentary from one specific city in Boston around Drake May and how that compares to commentary to a player that wears number 15 in Kansas City. I thought that was kind of fun seeing that last night. More Zone coming up next. And they talked about it last night. Man, the defensive calculus changes if you're able to drop 7 and just bring your front 4. And then what Mike McDaniel was doing, or Mike McDonald was doing, was just mixing in blitzes here or there, especially from Witherspoon. And, the Patriots were not able to pick it up or adjust to that. But looking back, since the Chiefs started their dynastic run in 2019. And I know 2018 they went to the AFC Championship game, but since they made their first Super Bowl in 2019, when it was defenses starting to adjust to what we are seeing as the big plays, the single high, the speed, the over routes that sort of overtook the NFL, and what has happened since then. And one of the things that you take away from that is, of the 7 Super Bowl winners in that time, since the Chiefs went to their first Super Bowl in 2019, of the 7 Super Bowl winners, 6 of them had at least 45 sacks that season. The Super Bowl losers, only 3 teams of the 7 had at least 45 sacks that year. And if you look at sack percentage, because it can be, well, you had 45 sacks, but you were playing a lot of teams that ran the football a lot, right? Sack percentage, it was 7 for 7 that got at least 7% of sack percentage. It was 3 of the 7 losers in the Super Bowl that got at least 7% sack percentage. 7% of all the dropbacks ended up in a sack. Some of those, by the way, the 6 of the 7 that reached at least 45 sacks on the season, the one that did not was the Eagles last year, got to 41. But they also had over a 7% sack percentage.
Yeah.
So they were still sacking at the rate. They were just not seeing as many passing attempts over the course of the season. And the one thing these last 2 years that have sort of separated from the previous 5, and that is, of the winning teams, the blitz percentage. Now, obviously, 3 of those 5 were the Kansas City Chiefs. So where they rank in blitz percentage. But Tampa Bay was 5th in blitz percentage, and the Rams were 4th in blitz percentage. The last 2 years, Eagles 28th, Seattle 26th. Now, I know they brought different blitzes last night, but the last 2 years we have seen teams, and especially that Eagles team from 2022 that was just sacking the quarterback that, well, they played on ice, and that's the only reason the Chiefs won, because only one team played on the field that was slippery that particular night. But we're seeing teams the last 2 years especially, when we've really seen the too high, cover 2, cover 6, and putting pressure with the front 4 and what the Seahawks are able to do, we've seen the last 2 years, teams that have won the Super Bowl do not blitz, yet still get sacks at a high rate, meaning they bring the front 4. And if that isn't a red flashing sign to the Chiefs about what has happened the last couple of years since they had 57 sacks in 2023 and a 9.3% sack percentage. Yeah. I mean, almost 10% of every passing attempt ended up as a sack in 2023 for the Kansas City Chiefs when they ultimately beat the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl. I mean, that was that defensive team. They were 7th in blitz rate that year, but the last 2 years, it's 28th and 26th. They are pressuring and sacking with 4 guys and dropping 7. And that was an issue last year for the Chiefs, and it was an issue for the Patriots and Drake May last night.
So when you look at what the Chiefs, in my opinion, need to do at 9 and what they need to do this offseason, it's not this is perfect. It's not some crazy plan. It's not like you need to try and recreate the wheel. You need pass rushers. That's what it comes down to. You have an opportunity at 9 to get a guy. And I know some people will like Jeremiah Love or Carnell Tate, and again, I'm not going to be beyond myself if they went a different way. But when you look at how much edge rushers and pass rushers in general cost in the NFL, $30+ million a year. George Karlaftis, I know people had their issues with him this season. That is what the going rate is for a defensive end 2 and the production that he brought you. That's the rate. Whether you like it or not does not matter. That is what it would be. And so if you draft a guy at 9, that's what, a $15 million surplus every single year. You draft a running back at 9, the monetary value is nearly the exact same. You're not getting any extra value there. You can go out and get a free agent running back with the money you're saving on edge. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's all economics, if you will. You know me, I'm bad at math. That's not my strong suit. So when it comes to the actual numbers, I can't do it. But I can tell you the economics of how we get there and what's the most astute way of the allocation of said funds. To me, it is at 9. Yeah, Bain might be gone. Sure, Reese might even be gone. Peter Woods might be there, and this maybe you go on the inside versus outside. I still think you have to focus on that defensive line for the monetary value, for the upside availability, and then just 3, what we've seen the trend of defensive line. This is what matters right now in the NFL.
Edge rushers and linebackers, if you just look at one way of discussing it, the franchise tag numbers for 2026, if you were to franchise tag a player. Defensive end, linebackers, $28 million to franchise tag. Running backs, 14.5.
And that's the point.
Which is why Kenneth Walker ain't going to be out there. Even if Kenneth Walker, they're like, oh, we need to work something out. I mean, if you sign him at 14.5, he'd be the 4th highest paid running back on annual average value in the NFL at 14.5. And I think the Seahawks are probably going to, re-sign him or at least franchise tag him. But you are talking about literally double
Yes.
the amount to franchise tag one position over the other. Safety isn't much, better if you're talking about Caleb Downs at $21 million, but that's also where you get into that Brian Cook thing. It's like, oh, do they want to franchise tag Brian Cook? You pay Brian Cook $21 million per year.
And there's always outliers, by the way.
Yeah, right.
There's
right.
always outliers. You would do it for CMC. You would have done it for Saquon, not this year, but the year prior. Again, my thought is I don't think Jeremiah Love is a top 3 back in the NFL, right? I do think, by the way, that Caleb Downs could be a top 3 safety in the NFL. Yeah. So there are always going to be some outliers and variations to this.
I just would like to see them get an edge rusher who can win a one-on-one on the outside. I don't care if it's a speed rusher or just what they usually like to go after, the George Karlaftis type. You got to be able to win a one-on-one. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about an edge rusher that, he's got a great motor. He never gives up. And yeah, that's great for a coverage sack. It's also a coverage sack where it's the secondary doing their job, and eventually you just move around enough in the pocket where you can find yourself right around the quarterback. I want somebody that can go out there and just blow somebody up. We saw that all last night.
Yes.
Will Campbell gave up, 14 pressures?
Yep.
I would say 12 of them was just somebody beating him immediately off the snap. And you just can't keep relying on Chris Jones to win these double teams, or on the few times he is just getting taken on by a guard or a center. Charles Omenihu and George Karlaftis, they didn't do enough on the outside last year. And maybe that's a them problem. Maybe it's Spags that's wanting these edge rushers that are just no longer a part of those elite pass rushing teams. I would argue that every elite pass rushing team this year had one speed rusher, if that, and that's just not what Spags wants. He doesn't want a David Bailey, even though David Bailey probably can go in next year and be a 10-sack guy.
Cassius Howell from Texas A&M and from Kansas City right here. Undersized guy that maybe isn't going to hold up in the run, but, man, he is a monster when it comes to rushing the passer. Not a Spags guy.
And think about some of those big moments on third downs where they have to dial up this disguise blitz because nobody can win those one-on-ones. How frustrating is it that on a 3rd and 6, it's like, Spags better be right here and dialing it up. Why not just rush 4 and somebody win that job where everybody else can drop back and win their job down the field in the secondary? It has to be priority number 1. I know Jeremiah Love, I wouldn't be against it. It'd be a fun pick because they haven't had a running back that effective in a long time. So would Mekhi Lemon or Lamone out of USC. Those guys would be fun and sexy picks. But what they need is an edge rusher, because even though the running game was an issue, the offense was an issue, you watch that defensive line week in and week out. They never got pressure, even against teams that were the Chargers game. They didn't have one starter from week 1 starting up front, and they still couldn't get any pressure on Justin Herbert. That has to change.
Well, and we've talked about all season long, even the last 2 years really, that why is this team so bad in 3rd and longs? Why do they have the worst defensive conversion rate in 3rd and longs over the last couple of years, giving up the most yards in 3rd and longs over the last couple of years? Well, I think it's pretty explainable. They can't win one-on-ones. When it's 3rd and long, you've got to figure out different ways to pressure the quarterback. Or do we drop and play coverage? Therefore, the quarterback has more time to find an opening. Do we blitz? Therefore, it creates some mismatches and some seams or some openings in the secondary because you're bringing extra guys. And if you don't get there, now it's an easier completion. Are you blitzing and playing back to come up and tackle? Well, now it sets up 4th and 1, and then they go for it on 4th and 1. We've seen that a couple of times. Like, the 3rd and longs the last 2 years, I think, are simply coming down to you can't pressure the quarterback with your front four. Therefore, you don't speed up the quarterback. You can't drop 7 in 3rd and longs. You're blitzing, and if you don't get there, good luck because, there's going to be some openings there in the secondary. Like, they haven't been that team that, 3rd and long, here we go. They're not going to be able to get off the field. No, it was, Trey Smith said on Wednesday, you have to make them earn the right to rush the passer when we were talking about the run game. And he was like, look, every offensive lineman wants to run the ball. Like, we want to run the ball. We love to do that. You want to make that defense earn the right to rush the passer. And I love that saying. You got to earn the right to rush the passer by getting stops on 1st and 2nd down. And the Chiefs have done that a lot over the last couple of years, but then they've given up chunks, given up gains, not getting enough stops on 3rd and long, comparatively speaking, to other teams. And I think there's pretty much one main explanation, and that's because, you can't rush the quarterback, you can't pressure the quarterback, and you've got to come up with different exotic ways to try to do that and out-scheme the other team instead of just talent the other team up front.
Spags makes it harder on himself is what it comes down to. I think he makes it so much harder on himself. He's a Hall of Fame DC, but he likes his guys. And so when he goes for these guys, and he likes guys he trusts and guys who set the edge, but when you keep going for the same skill set because you trust them, we know they're not going to be out of position. We know they have the motor. It's not going to quit, as Jack brought up. When the first thing you bring up about a pass rusher, is motor and edge setter. Mm-hmm. That means he's not getting after the quarterback or winning one-on-one. So then Spags is forced to blitz. And how many guys on this team are known as quote-unquote edge setters or motor guys? Name one that's not.
Dana.
Gelati,
yeah, thank you.
Amenahu
are the main three.
Yeah, Amenahu might not be in that category.
Yeah, I don't know what he is.
But they focused
Hopefully he's
so much.
someone wearing a different jersey next year.
They focused so much on stopping the run.
Yeah.
They've spent so much resources and allocation there that they forgot about getting after the quarterback. I mean, even Mike Pennell. I love Mike Pennell. But you have Mike Pennell. You have Derek Nottie. Mm-hmm. Jerry Tillery, who didn't provide you anything this year. I mean,
obviously they were hoping Omar Norman Lott would stay healthy this year, but
sure,
he didn't.
But even if he did, that's so much.
But it's also to your
on
point,
a rookie.
They drafted him and then put weight on him because they wanted him to be a run stopper.
Yes, I don't understand that. Yeah. You're good against the run. You have Nick Bolton. You have it's not a coverage linebacker. That's your run stopper. Like,
that's right.
I don't understand this. We're gonna focus all of our resources on stopping the run. You forgot about the quarterback and getting after the quarterback in the pass game. Am I taking crazy pills?
You are. If you look at some of the consensus cheat sheets for free agency that's out there, not a fantasy football cheat sheet, but different free agency and rankings. You know the 5th highest ranked edge rusher free agent is? Want to take a guess?
Boye Mafe.
No, 5th highest ranked.
Is it going to be like Mike Danner or something like that?
Joshua Uche. He's ranked as the 5th highest edge rushing free agent out there, which could point to the edge rushing free agent crop, but also point to what other people think of who Joshua Uche can be if he's used, which he was not used in Kansas City. And, oh, by the way, no 6th-round draft pick this year because of Joshua Uche.
Yeah, I was thinking of it as that week of a class. That's why I would Mike Danner.
For sure, yeah. I mean, it could be both. It could be, wow, it's that week of a class that you got the 5th highest ranked in some of these consensus cheat sheets is Uche, but also the Chiefs don't have a 6th-round draft pick because they traded for Joshua Uche.
I think Spags is phenomenal. This is not a mad at Spags, but I think adjustments have to be made on who he goes after. The Royals did this when they went from Dayton Moore to J.J. Piccolo, right? Do you think Dayton Moore would have ever gone after Caglione when you already had Vinny at first base, Salvi there? I don't know. I don't think he would have. I think he would have tried to go for a speedy, athletic guy.
Who's the kid that's now the #1 prospect in all of baseball?
Connor Griffin.
Connor Griffin's probably who we would have gone after, right?
I'm trying to think.
Which wouldn't have been a terrible thing.
No. But again, I'm just talking about
Weatherholt, maybe?
the Weatherholt's probably the guy, actually, yes.
That.
Yeah.
There was another prep shortstop they'd had at the time that they were mocked to over and over again because Cags was supposed to go top 3, and then everything went sideways when Chase Burns went 2. But I do see your point of changing your ways. With this Chiefs coaching staff, I mean, it's kind of obvious with who they can bring back and who they always hire. It's always from the Andy Reid coaching tree, guys they've worked with before. And my biggest gripe is not so much about, the production from last. I mean, certainly that is an obvious point. We're all frustrated with the production. To me, it's this inability to change or be open to new ideas or new styles. Like, that's what makes organizations great. It's not I always win, therefore my way is always correct. You do have a lot of winning in your career. You've got a lot of success. Nobody can refute that. Sometimes, though, the best thing you can do after a season like this is look in the mirror and go, we do got to change some things, right? We cannot win this same way each and every year. Why? Because teams clearly started to figure out, okay, the Chiefs are doing this offensively. We are going to catch up to the ways and know how to stop this RPO and this no running game. It's not going to work forever. Defensively, what Spags did his entire time in Kansas City, it usually worked. They always got better as the season went on. That didn't happen this year. They never were able to rush the passer, and that's why you need to look in the mirror and say, what we need is somebody that is a difference maker on the edge, not some guy in the 3rd round out of a small school that's got a great motor and he's going to have a hard work ethic and he's just going to be there and he's going to hustle for everything. No. I would love David Bailey. I would love Pete Woods. I would love Reuben Bain. If they're there, take them.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they fit your system or not. They fit the NFL system of what a good pass rusher is.
By the way, Uche has 6 sacks the last 2 years. So, I mean, it's not like 3 years, 23, 24, 25. He's got a total of 6 sacks. So he's not – they didn't trade for –
Michael Strahan.
Right. They didn't trade for Trey Hendrickson and then didn't play him. They didn't do that. They traded for Joshua Uche, who then they didn't sign in free agents, and he went to Philadelphia and had 1 sack this year.
He had a really good start with a lot of pressures, and then everyone kept...
a couple tackles for loss.
He's just a PFF guy. He always has the great PFF score, and that's why he's so high value.
That's a good, and probably why he's ranked in some of these cheat sheets and free agency and consensus type things of being that high. My view on defensive line is, if you feel like you have enough, you probably need one more. Anytime you've got a defensive line that says, I feel like we're good, then get one more. That's going to be, and it probably the same thing with tackles on offense. Like, no, I feel like we're good with our tackle room. Maybe try to develop one more. Maybe get one more there just in case. But defensive line overall, because tackles, there's 2 on the field in terms on the offensive side. But defensive line, with those 4 guys, it's like, no, I feel good with our edges. We got a couple of guys in the interior. We got a run stopper. We got a couple 3 techniques. We got a guy that's a pass rush specialist only. I feel like we're good. Cool, draft one more. Go ahead and find one more. And if the Chiefs go into next season and say, let's say, at number 9, that it doesn't seem like any mock draft has any more, with Reuben Bain being available. A lot of the mock drafts, Reuben Bain's gone in the top 7. Todd McShay put out his mock draft this morning. There's a lot of mock drafts coming in now that we know what the top 32 look like. And at number 9, they took Carnell Tate because Bain and Bailey and Reese and Downs were all gone in the top 6. So, Carnell Tate's there. But let's say Reuben Bain is available, and they take Reuben Bain. I wouldn't be against it if they came around in the 2nd round and got, Zion Young.
Sure.
And
would love that.
And if they went into the next year and said, boy, you've got Karlaftis, Gelati, you add in Bain, Zion, you've got Chris Jones, Omar Norman Lott is coming back and hopefully healthy, and if you throw in another year, FAU, a specific pass rush specialist, just that depth overall. I'm not saying FAU is the starter.
No, I get what you're saying.
But FAU, he's on your team. It's sunk cost already.
Correct.
But when he's had limited playing time, he's produced in terms of pressures. He got a sack in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Tackle for loss. Like, he's done some of those things. You add him to the overall mix of players, and it's like, wow, okay. Now you went from having nobody to, wow, you got a guy like Karlaftis that's learning how to win, but also the motor. Bain, that's a guy that can slide down in the interior. Zion Young, that is just a bleep you player, like a Frank Clark. You're adding Ruben Bain, who's like a Frank Clark too, just a bleep you. I'm going to try to, if I hurt you on the way to the quarterback, that's okay. Sorry, I know you got a family. I do too. Zion Young, sort of that guy. FAU, a speed guy off the edge. Sure. Norman Lott, a specific pass rushing specialist once they figured out that they should probably just let him get down to his regular weight and do that. Chris Jones, maybe a motivated, tweeting out last night, took a year off, will be there next year, Chris Jones. But with that help around him, maybe Chris Jones that had the, 11 straight games with a sack when he had Justin Houston and D Ford on the outside and you couldn't double team Chris Jones. And it was like, wow, this guy's like Richard Seymour. Where'd the second-round pick Chris Jones come from? Well, he's been Chris Jones since then. He just hasn't had very often those defensive ends to take all the pressure off of him outside of the year that Nick Bosa won the MVP and stole it from Chris Jones, because Chris Jones should have been defensive MVP that year, defensive player of the year. They gave it to Nick Bosa because of a counting stat, even though Chris Jones was almost the same number of sacks as a defensive interior player, a more dominant player. But regardless, neither here nor there, he should have a defensive player of the year on his resume. Chris Jones should, but they gave it to Nick Bosa. Anyway.
And you got to get it right. I know it seems so simplistic and so ridiculous, but at 31, for example, the Chiefs went with FAU. 6 spots later, now he's not had a great career necessarily, but he had 2 sacks last night in a Super Bowl, Derek Hall.
I thought you were saying FAU. No, holy bleep. Yeah, Derek
Hall had 2 sacks last night, and he went 6 spots later at pick 37.
But would Derek Hall be that if it was on a defensive line that was Chris Jones. Karlaftis and Chris Jones. We're not talking about just scrubs out there that don't know what they're doing.
And again, I think the reason is he's technically an outside linebacker / a little bit of that tweener, and that's a little bit what we're asking for.
But I mean, FAU was smaller than Derek Hall.
Yeah, I think
I think that was the Kansas City thing. If the draft wasn't in Kansas City, I don't believe FAU is a Chief.
Like the exact same size.
And they would have traded back, probably.
That would have been nice if they did, if they had the opportunity. I didn't believe Clark Hunt for a second that said, no, if he wants to trade back, that's perfectly fine if it's best for the team. I don't think they were trading back with all of the theatrics that they put on for that night, coming off the Super Bowl win and bringing the Lombardi trophies out there, and then Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs on the clock at pick number 32. I don't think there's any chance they were trading out of that pick and not having a pick that night. And if they can't figure out who to go with, 6 in one hand, half dozen in the other, let's take the local kid. And what a great story. He was at the draft earlier tonight, hanging out and walking around. Then he's at his draft party. This is really cool. Let's take FAU. It hasn't turned out to be that. And by the way, with more data that comes in, the draft analyst, and I should know his name because we clowned him at the time, and he deserves his flowers. And he said FAU's like the 30th defensive end in this class. And we're like, 30th pick? He was like, no, I've got him as the 30th defensive end in this class. And everybody was just torching him and how dumb he was for doing that. I mean, he can't get on the field for the Kansas City Chiefs. And he was in the first round. And he called it, was like, this is an awful pick. I hope that there have been some injuries, and the wrist injury and the hamstring. My theory was that the hamstring IR is you give him another redshirt year.
Yeah.
You give him another year to, once that hamstring heals, now you can just simply practice, get better for next year, and you don't have to be overexposed. But I do think from a standpoint of a specific pass rusher and pass rush only in 3rd and longs, it would have been nice to see FAU out on the field instead of Mike Dana or Charles Omenihu.
Yes.
To see what he would have done in, year 3.
Agreed.
But we don't know. We'll see him with 1 more year to go in his contract, because it's year 4 for him, right? Because it was FAU and Rashee Rice with the same draft class.
Yeah, 23.
Yeah, so this is the final year for both those guys.
Not picking up that 5th-year option.
No, they would have already had to do that, right?
Yeah, they would have had to done that. I don't know what the exact date is, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
It's in year 3 before year 4. Yeah.
I know we're a couple of weeks away from the franchise tag, and I know we're about a month away from legal tampering. Just love that. Legal tampering in the NFL for free agency. Don't even call it legal tampering. Just call it free agent negotiation
yes,
window.
Why
open.
do we?
It's legal tampering. Then it's not tampering if it's legal, okay? It's legal bank robbing. It's now legal to go rob banks for today only.
Don't say that. If someone's going to catch that 3 seconds of you saying that, and it's going to be
well, that's their own fault for believing
Jason
me.
Anderson told me on air.
Well, if he told you to jump off a bridge, would you? Yes.
Well,
I follow him. He's my Pied Piper.
if it's a good bridge with some water underneath it, is it fun? That'd be my question: is how high is the bridge? Is it a fun bridge?
I'm not sure.
How many beers have I had?
I would hope 0, but that's a you thing, okay? Maybe we'll talk in the
Wrong
break.
answer.
We'll take a break. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling more zone right after this. Of the NFL season with Field Yates. Text comes in and said, remember back in the Super Bowl last year and yesterday, look how much defensive tackles truly created the pressure. In my opinion, Chiefs need defensive tackle more than edge next to Jones, and he's not young. Caleb Banks, Florida, shoved the interior into the quarterback. Yeah, Caleb Banks had probably the best Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
I think Senior Bowl and Combine, because his measurables will be off the charts. I think he's a guy that will be a mover when it comes to the first round.
By the way, how
we'll
about
see.
Jaron Reed still playing?
Good for him, man.
That shocked me.
Yeah,
I knew all postseason. I'm like, damn, Jaron Reed was here for years
Yeah.
ago, and I thought that was the end of Jaron Reed's
Yeah,
run.
and he went back to Seattle and became
Yep.
good again. It was crazy.
And then the text finished up by saying, who's playing defensive tackle? Jones and Lott. They've got no one else. They need a force at the other defensive tackle. Text says, I hope the Chiefs are watching this game. Play the Patriots here and Seattle more so. Take a hard look at these defenses and running backs. The game is reverting back to running the ball and not always an air attack show. I think that's definitely one of the takeaways from that is that defense, and then Kenneth Walker was the MVP. And he was really good. And, oh, man, the run that he had that they showed from behind the offense when he goes up to the line of scrimmage. Not the one that he waited and waited and waited, and then it was one of the other runs that he had when he went up, and it was the guard center, and the hole ended up being between the guard and the right tackle. So it was center right guard, and he stutter stepped to the left of the guard in the center, which paused the linebacker, only to immediately jump cut and go to the hole that he was going to go to anyway. And it was like Pacheco just runs straight through the hole and gets tackled for a 4-yard gain and gets up and pops back up and then jogs back to the huddle like, yeah, flexes. Kareem Hunt sort of looks at it, then gets there, but is tackled for 4 yards because he's not fast enough to skip, the jump cut and then burst and take off. And that ended up being like a 15, 16-yard gain because all he did was hesitate, start to head towards the left side of the center, set up the linebacker, and then jump cut to the hole he was going to anyway. And it was like, that's just, it seems like it's something that an NFL running back should be able to do by setting up blockers while also understanding where the hole's going to be. But the Chiefs just haven't had that since Kareem Hunt, rookie and second year, and then they, cut him. Damian Williams, they had when, had a home run hitter that when the hole was there, he'd take off. But, man, it was nice watching him. So you see the defense, the pressuring the quarterback, the sacking the quarterback, and the running back being the MVP of the Super Bowl because he was the only thing that was really helping that offense go, especially against a good rushing defense like the Patriots.
Do we think that this year was the new norm or the outlier? That's probably the question to have of, is the new norm or is this the Trent Dilfer? Right? Is it? I'm not saying they're the 2000 Ravens, but like, is this going to be the outlier? You look back and go, oh yeah, I remember when Sam Darnold won a Super Bowl, and then we look back and go, okay, then it's Patrick or Josh or Matt Stafford or the main cast of quarterback characters.
I think this is going to be part of the pendulum swinging, where I think we'll see it for a few years, and then the pendulum eventually swinging back. I think that's what we've seen that in just the way the NFL is cyclical, and now defenses playing the too high, the cover 2, the shell, the cover 6, dropping guys into zone, the overs and mesh routes and one-on-ones and speed winning, not necessarily the same. It's more of the bigger-bodied receivers, the Carolina Panthers of the world. And, congrats to Tech McMillan for being the offensive rookie of the year. I nailed that one, by the way.
Ted offensive. That's pretty good.
Boom.
That was good. I didn't know you had that history knowledge in you.
No, I was going with him having to apologize for what he said on the Madden stream.
Oh, I thought you meant the Ted offensive as far as
that's
like
good
the
one
history.
Too. That's a good one too. But I meant
I gave you way too much credit.
No,
for
I'll
being,
take both.
Yeah.
It's a dual meaning.
Yeah.
You guys have to figure out which one I was talking about actually. But I think this is not a one-year aberration. I think it is something that we'll see more and more. The interesting part is like, okay, so people, Bills fans are like, this really sucks watching the Patriots do this, considering, all Josh Allen had to do was not be a turnover machine against the Broncos, and you feel like you probably, could beat the Patriots, whatever. But the Bills built their defense to stop the Chiefs, which is the ironic part about watching the way the NFL has turned out to be this year, is that building your defense to stop a team that didn't even make the playoffs in a year that we have seen teams completely reverse course and go under center, play action, heavy personnel, bigger receivers are the ones, making some of the plays, and away from speed winning and sideline to sideline, where the Chiefs made you cover every blade of grass from end zone to end zone and sideline to sideline. And now defenses are smaller and smarter than they've ever been before. I mean, the defenses are smarter than they've ever been before. I don't think there's any question about that. With all the different exotic looks and the multiple looks and the switching in and out of coverages at the snap. And I gave this stat, last week. I don't remember who I talked to. I think it might have been Chadia, and said, 10 years ago, edge rushers, defensive ends, averaged weight was 275 pounds. This year, the average weight of edge rushers, defensive ends, 263.
Yeah.
It's dropped 12 pounds in 10 years from your edge rushers and defensive ends. Defenses are smaller, faster, and smarter than they've ever been. How do you counter that? Defenses are not going to get bigger and slower to counter the heavy 12, 13. The highest EPA per rush to the strong side, so where your tight end is, was this year in the next-gen stats era. So running to the strong side where your tight end is, it's the highest EPA per rush than they've ever had in the next-gen stats. So you're running at smaller defensive ends with blocking tight ends, and you're creating success. I don't think defenses are going to react over 1 year and go, ooh, we need to get bigger.
Yeah.
I think this is what teams will go to until defenses react and go, all right, now they're hitting us this way. So now we've got to bring guys up to the line of scrimmage. We've got to stop this and this, which then creates more one-on-one, and then maybe speed will win at that point. So I do think this might be a 2 or 3 year trend, what we'll be watching with defenses being smaller, faster, smarter, and offenses adjusting to go more under center, heavy personnel, blocking tight ends. 2024 was about the 6th offensive lineman.
Sure.
To me, 2025 was about the blocking tight end.
Which is funny. The Chiefs' defense is actually set up fairly well to stop a team like Seattle. The issue is those teams also are able to throw to JSN.
Yes.
Right. And so the Chiefs really do a fine job, in my opinion. How many times do we say after games, wow, they did a good job on the run. Wow, they bottled up Saquon, or they did. Well, because they're good at that, then it gets to 3rd and 7, and all of a sudden Hurts hits Devontae Smith.
It's just their offense was built to beat defenses of the past. In that they're using speed and smaller tight ends that are more receivers. Travis Kelce is a better blocker than he gets credit for.
Agreed.
But he is not Blake Bell. He is not Jackson Hawes that, again, I've talked about before. I talked about it when it happened at the draft. And I said, this is really fascinating because the Bills had 6 offensive linemen. They ran that last year, and then other teams sort of picked it up, but that's already gone. That was like, ooh, is it going to be 6 offensive linemen? No, that went by quickly. But what did the Bills do? In the 5th round, they drafted a blocking tight end. The Seahawks have 2 blocking tight ends on their team that they play. And the Bills drafted one in the 5th round when they already had Kincaid and Knox because they can use this guy instead of a 6th offensive lineman that they were using, this guy that can also be eligible on routes and not have to announce him as tackle eligible constantly. No, he can actually be an eligible player because he's a tight end now, so it's all good. Like, we saw that happen on draft day. And this year, I'll continue to use the set, and I know it's going to annoy people by the time the NFL season gets around, but from 2021 to 2025, in that span of football, Los Angeles Rams and Sean McVay went from heavy, empty sets, no running backs, no play action, just empty, to one of the highest rates under center and play action pass. From 21 to 25, that's what the Rams offense did. Bigger receivers, too. Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, blocking tight ends, a full, like, they went from, we aren't even going to have a running back in the backfield. We're going to have receivers everywhere and a receiving tight end in Higbee to under center, play action, 12, 13 personnel. And the Chiefs went the opposite.
And it is interesting because the Chiefs have obviously the most rings during this time frame.
Yeah.
But also I would argue.
But it's a 2-year absence. I think you should fire everybody.
But I would say maybe even the least adjustment, even though they have the most rings, but maybe the least adjustment.
But I think they did the exact opposite because against the Bills and the Ravens, remember when they lost to the Raiders on Christmas Day, they lost to the Raiders. Sort of the commentary was like, well, we know what kind of team we're going to be now. And Patrick Mahomes even said it's okay to punt the football. Like after that Raiders game was like, it's okay to punt the football. They turned into a defensive and running team. And rewatching that Baltimore Ravens game, it was on, a few weeks ago because they were showing AFC Championship games.
Right?
Yeah, the AFC Championship game. They were showing different AFC Championship games on that Saturday leading up to Championship Sunday. And I was watching in the first, couple of quarters the amount of plays that Blake Bell was out there for, the amount of under center handoffs, play actions they were going off of. And it was like, this team in 2023 was actually ahead of where the league was going. They had blocking tight ends. I mean, Burton's last year was the Eagles'
22,
Super Bowl.
I believe.
Yeah, so the Eagle was the last year with Eric Bieniemy, by the way. Eric Bieniemy, when he was the OC, was the last time they had a blocking tight end and a fullback on the roster. Something to keep in mind. But the Chiefs were, to me, ahead of the game in 23. They said we're going defense and heavy.
Yeah.
12-13, handing the ball off and playing defense, and we have number 15 that can make the plays when need be. On that opening drive against the Ravens when they went for it on 4th down, and he threw the absolute dime to Travis Kelce on 4th down. Then threw the back shoulder dime to Travis Kelce against Kyle Hamilton on the opening drive. That was brilliant. But they also had Blake Bell in there blocking and doing some different things. They went from that to Robert Tonyan being their third tight end and everything out of shotgun and RPOs and no play action, while the rest of the league said, ooh, look what the Chiefs did in 23. We should do that, because that's how they counteracted a fast Bills defense and a fast Ravens defense that was built to stop the Chiefs' 2022 version, not the Chiefs what they had to evolve into in 2023. And that was brilliant coaching. It's one of the best coaching jobs I think Andy Reid did, and Matt Nagy was a part of that. Yeah. So they deserve credit for that. They've got a Super Bowl because they evolved and became a chameleon in real time. How do we change our skin and go and be something different? But they've gone the exact opposite route since then, and the league has followed their lead in 23. That, to me, is maybe the most surprising part of the last couple of years. Not that the Chiefs haven't won a Super Bowl. It's freaking difficult to get there. It's that Andy Reid saw the pistol formation and went and brought in Chris Ault. Andy Reid saw the RPOs and started implementing that. Andy Reid adjusted in 23 to beat faster, smaller defenses, to play heavy, and to be a defensive running and Patrick Mahomes and special teams team. And special teams has gone backwards and gotten worse.
Yeah.
Running game has gone backwards and gotten worse, and they've gotten lighter on the offense.
Which brings up the case of, is that what Andy wanted to do all year long, or is that...
Well, they tried to until that Raiders game, and they're like, we can't be this team anymore.
Yeah, but I mean, even this year, did they want to be a run, not run first team, but did they want to run the ball way more than they realized, oh, bleep. But
we don't have the personnel.
We don't have the personnel, but also part of me is, Andy's got a big hand in who's on the roster.
Yes.
So that's also a case of, well, if you wanted to run the football, did you believe that highly of Pacheco? Did you believe that Kareem Hunt could do more? I mean, Kareem, I really have no issue with Kareem. I thought Kareem was really solid this year. Mm-hmm. But then why would you draft, or, again, whether it's him or Veach or the combination, well, then why would you draft a guy who you think more of as a wide receiver, it feels like, than a running back? Like, I would just have so many questions if the plan was to run the football more. Then why Tonyan over a blocking tight end 3? It's just, it felt like there was no concise plan, and I think maybe
I think the plan was misguided in that. I think the plan was that Pacheco is going to be better once he has a full season or off season to recover.
Sure.
I think Pacheco came back early, didn't look like that guy. He's going to be that explosive player that he was before the injury. So you get him back, Kareem Hunt short yardage, and we'll throw some numbers at the fast game breaker with Elijah Mitchell and Bashard Smith. And if one of those guys turns out to be the guy, we spent a 7th rounder on one and a couple $1 million on the other. If we get that, we've got a well-rounded running back room. Okay. And you've got Kingsley that's a better run blocker than Joe Tooney. Joe Tooney, a phenomenal pass blocker, protector of the year. So Trey Smith, a run blocker. All right, maybe you feel like Jalen Moore, more of a run blocker, when, before they got Josh Simmons, who was just fine in both and better than Will Campbell when he played, by the way.
I would say, when he played.
When he played. Availability is a big part of ability. But it feels like, some of the personnel offensive line-wise was like, hey, let's run the football a little bit more. But the plan on who was doing it was misguided, and I think the plan on how they planned on doing it was incredibly misguided and missed the forest for the trees.
Well, you've seen, too, that this postseason that almost every single team had some form of a rushing attack. And they don't have the luxury of going into this offseason and just banking on somebody they already have to be the guy. They have to get it right. Whether that's somebody in the draft, round 1, round 2, or round 3, whether that's Breece Hall, they have to get somebody who is a difference maker. And that's what I imagine can help this offense more than anything. Now, it's tough because we all said in the opening segment that edge rusher is the position of need, or defensive tackle. And there are a couple of good running backs that are right there and could be a difference-making number 1 running back that they haven't seen since rookie year Kareem Hunt. But really, it's a little bit about who the running back is. It's also about the play style. The Chiefs were out of the shotgun so many times handing the ball off, and that just doesn't work. It certainly didn't work for this team, and at the times they did line up under center and hand the ball off, I thought we saw more effectiveness. Problem is, Isaiah Pacheco is not a patient runner. Kareem Hunt is not a fast runner. And Rashard Smith isn't really a running back to begin with.
And Elijah Mitchell apparently wasn't a runner at all.
He just wasn't even on the roster, apparently.
According to them, he was out there, then he committed a penalty.
Yeah, you can be stuck in your ways. You can like the guys that you like. This is an off season. You can't get it wrong. If you want to take pressure off of a quarterback that's coming off of a serious injury, a serious knee injury, stop making him your number one running threat. You got to have somebody that, whether you have the lead or you're trying to get the offense going or work your way back into the game, I want to be able to hand the ball to somebody that can break a run of 25 yards.
And this is where, like, at pick number 9, we talk about, God, it'd be great if Bailey or Reuben Bain was available, because Ken Swanson brought up the point, and not that he said, at number 9, go get Jeremiah Love, but it was like, okay, would you be fine with Jeremiah Love? He goes, heck yeah. He goes, Jeremiah Love would be the running back for Patrick Mahomes until he's 36 years old. If you think about it like that, it'd be a 36-year-old Patrick Mahomes when you'd have to, after the 5th-year option for Jeremiah Love. Like, he could be Bijan in the back, could be. The best prospect since him doesn't mean he will be him.
Yeah.
And we went through, and you went through, Sterling, and saw the top 15, top 12, top 10 running backs, and they typically hit.
It's weird.
You draft them there. They're pretty much the studs of the NFL when you, or at least the ones you draft turn out to be worthy of that selection.
First-round running backs, it looks like a crapshoot until you go. It was like, I think it was top 15, and it was like, okay, if you're top 15, you were a stud. You look at all the other ones, 16 and after, and it was like one guy was Josh Jacobs. I think
Josh Jacobs was the guy.
Was
Najee
like
Harris,
the guy.
and,
Najee
guys
Harris,
like
Clyde, Sony Michel. I mean, there's the list goes on. And then for top 15, the only one was really
Fournette.
bad, and that was Leonard Fournette. And you're still like, he was still a pretty solid back.
He got a Super Bowl as well. Like, if you look at some of the free agents, and I mentioned Joshua Uche, but like the edge rusher free agents, Trey Hendrickson, they're not in that market. Jalen Phillips, they're not in that market. Khalil Mack, probably not in that market. Joey Bosa, could be, but is he going to be healthy and available and out there and playing? And then Joshua Uche, Cam Jordan, Draymond Jones, Joseph Asai, Clowney, Odafe Owe, Boye Mafe, Kwity Paye. Those are the next guys.
Kwity Paye would be intriguing.
As edge rushers. But, like, those are fine role players, right?
Yeah.
But not like you put them out there, here's a difference maker. Whereas it feels like the running backs, there's value there. After Breece Hall and Kenneth Walker, who are going to get paid. All right, those two are going to get a lot of money. Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, because I think Walker might be franchise tagged at $14.5 million, or they just simply sign him. But after that, the consensus sort of running back free agent list. ETN, Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle, J.K. Dobbins, Tyler Algier, Kenneth Gainwell, Rashad White. Every one of those would be an immediate upgrade over who they have in the backfield right now.
Yep.
And it might be ETN because what would maybe steer them away from Kenneth Walker is the fact that he's not a good receiver. And he's not that good of a pass blocker either. It's why Charbonnet would come in on different times. Charbonnet would come in those passing situations because he's a better receiver and a better blocker. So ETN, but Rico Dowdle could be an all-around back, what he did for the Panthers. Soren's a big fan of Tyler Algier, and I'm on board with that. Kenneth Gainwell and Rashad White, adding to the running back room, on board with that as well. Like, I think you get more value, more bang for your buck for what those guys can do for the team at that position than what you will be paying for edge rushers and the bang for the buck that you would get in going in the free agent market for that, as opposed to in the top 10, Jeremiah Love versus, a Reuben Bain or a David Bailey that more than likely, let's be honest, won't be there at number 9, which is the unfortunate part. Should have lost more games.
Simple economics, my dear Watson, is what it comes down to.
That's what they say, yeah.
That's what it comes down to. So I'm team, I think ETN would be the Breece Hall, ETN, 1-2. That's where I would have my druthers. I still think drafting a running back late if you don't believe in Rashard Smith as a guy. But because right now, even if you bring in a free agent, you have him. I think you bring back Kareem for your short yardage back. I don't know if you guys have a different opinion, but I'm fine with Kareem Hunt.
I'm totally fine with
your
Kareem Hunt
short
being
yardage
on this team. He's got a specific skill set. He's got a particular set of skills. He's like Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
All right, those third and fourth downs, those yards that are there, they're taken by Kareem Hunt. Okay, so I would be perfectly fine with him on the team, and brought back to do what he does the best of anybody in the NFL.
So then you have Ashton Gelati
at the top, one of the best of anybody.
And you have Ashton Gelati as your Mike Dana, basically, to an extent. That's your rookie contract, Mike Dana. He's a rotational piece. I still think then you go at 9 with someone on the defensive line, but I would be very intrigued. And I still think the Chiefs will. Maybe I'm wrong, and I think they're going to go after either Boye Mafe or Kwity Paye.
I think they tried to trade for Boye Mafe, so I think Mafe is probably a name that we could probably look at, which the Chiefs typically get guys in free agency so they can go best player available.
Sure.
So they're probably going to sign a defensive end or two so that at number 9, if Bain or Bailey are not there, or Falk, because that's screams Spags, and I'm worried about Falk because I don't see the explosive pass rusher that they need. I see a really good run stopper.
So Kwity Paye has a lot of run stoppability as well. That's why I say I just think he fits what the Chiefs like, what Spags likes, but with a little more upside pass rush wise than a Dana or a Gelati. Again, maybe Gelati surprised us. He was a rookie this year. So
we almost had Gelati there in San Francisco. At
big.
We went out there,
but
it was nice.
Kwity Paye was a guy who had back-to-back 8+ sack seasons. This past year, down with only 4. But he's still really good against the run, and I think he is a upgrade either way. Yeah. And he fits. Again, I'm looking at guys, do I want Trey Hendrickson? Yeah, you bet your ass I do, but do I think that's the realistic possibility? I don't think it is. So I'm looking at realistic guys that I think the Chiefs might take a look at. So I just want to throw on your radar Boye Mafe and Kwity Paye.
Yeah, my radar has been Boye Mafe just because
the Chiefs have basically told us that.
They've tried to trade for him. So I'm like, that kind of feels like a guy that the Chiefs are going to go and sign on like day 1 free agency or not break the bank. It's not day 1 free agency Trey Hendrickson or day 1 free agency Tooney and Leonard Williams that they tried to do, before that 2021 season. Not along those lines, but the value that's there. And I'm really interested in who they're going to go and get at running back because, again, I think they're going to sign a running back. I think they're going to sign an edge rusher. We'll see what they do with Trent McDuffie. We'll see what they do with Jalen Watson. We'll see what they do with Leo Chenal. I'm one of the few people apparently in town that is going to be championing Leo Chenal being brought back and re-signed because I'm ready to. Do you have one more year of Drew Tranquill as a 31, 32-year-old, or do you re-sign a 25-year-old that's just starting to learn how to use his athletic traits that were off the chart at the combine, and somebody that Spags said, well, we can't 1-to-1 replace Leo Chenal. We've got different guys that have to come in different packages to replace Leo Chenal.
But he only plays 40 to 50% snaps, while Drew plays nearly 100.
And maybe Drew moves on, and Leo Chenal starts to play a little bit more and figures out to use more and more of his skill. I'd rather take the 25-year-old.
I get it.
Than 1 year of the 31-year-old. And Leo Chenal goes somewhere else, plays more, and then it's like, oh, hey, look at this guy that was such a big part of the Chiefs and what they do, and they let him walk as a 25-year-old, and now he's making a Pro Bowl.
Or it's Willie Gay Jr.
And he's better than Willie Gay.
No, of course, I don't argue that, but to me, this is very Trey Smith, Joe Tooney. But like on a much, I think, lower scale. We're not talking all pros type of players, but like I think we're talking. Do you go with the younger guy who let's be real, is not going to be quite as good as the veteran,
or at least
Drew
how
Tranquill.
he has played at times, Drew Tranquill.
I think Drew Tranquill is really damn solid this year. I think he sometimes gets a bad rap. I like Drew.
What I'm banking on is Drew Tranquill aging,
correct,
and playing at the level he is, while Leo Chenal's ascension the last 3 years continuing as a 25-year-old.
Well, that's what you hope.
And finding more and more ways of using him.
In 2026, who, like I said last year, who's going to be better, Joe Tooney or Trey Smith? You have to look at it in 3 years.
Yeah.
Year 1 goes to Joe.
Absolutely.
Year 1 goes to Joe.
100%.
And that's why I said that. I think in 2026, let's say if it's in a 3-year deal for I mean, again, I don't think you're signing Drew for 3 years, but Leo probably would be. And you'd say, well, who's going to be better over that 3-year period or 2-year period? I think year 1, I'm going Drew. I think next year, who's going to be a better player, Drew or Leo? I'd probably still say Drew.
I kind of feel like Leo was a better player this year than Drew already.
PFF would say so, but I think that
it's
the amount of snaps would differ.
It also depends on what he's going to get paid. I'm not bringing back Leo Chenal for $15 a year.
Oh,
so, I mean,
yes, of course.
That's what and people are talking about Brian Cook, and I think Brian Cook, the money starts at $15 million per year for Brian Cook.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, do you bring him back? I think they might be more willing to bring him back now that the salary cap's going to jump up to over $300 million, expected from like 270 whatever to $300 million. Like, I think they may be in business there, which means that less and less free agents are going to be on the market. We talk about, boy, you got all this money to spend in free agency. Yeah. And teams are keeping their free agents because there's more and more money in the salary cap. So that means you better be damn good at drafting. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will talk with Field Yates coming up next.
He'll help you fantasy focus while he scoops the news. He's on TV more often than he's in bed. He'll break down the NFL without a single hair ever out of place. It's Field Yates of ESPN. Now in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you on this Monday edition of the show, post-Super Bowl edition of the show. First time in a while we're talking about what happened in the game and not discussing the Kansas City Chiefs, but we are talking about what happened in the game and how that can relate to the Kansas City Chiefs. Joining us now, our NFL insider from ESPN, Field Yates, joining us here in the zone. Field, how are you today?
Jason, I am doing well. Already a little bit sad that football is over, but the countdown is on to the combine, free agency, the draft, and all the other great things that take place during the NFL offseason.
Yeah, it's unfortunate the games are over, but I feel like now is the time when the NFL has kind of shined throughout the years, when it's the team building, the offseason, what happens, there's the hope that takes place with your team, who they're signing, not signing, the draft. It's almost like the offseason has become just as big of a deal as the regular season for the NFL.
Totally has, and that's one of the ways in which the NFL wins, right, is that, you know, we'll sit here in the month of March and get geared up for the NCAA basketball tournament, and people will definitely tune into that. But you could have one major trade or free agent signing or release in the NFL, Max Crosby or Myles Garrett, I'm just throwing out random names here right now, that could shake up the sports world for an entire day. So the beauty of the NFL is that they have made this basically like an 11-and-a-half-month calendar. There's that time in early July where things go quiet, but from even the franchise tag window into the combine, the draft, the schedule release, OTAs, minicamps, the NFL has really cornered the market on basically every day of the year.
Yeah, you tweeted out this morning that February 17th, the March 3rd window to use the franchise tags, the 23rd through March 2nd, the combine. A month from today is the legal tampering window, which is just, I guess we could call negotiating with free agent window.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous, is it not?
Legal tampering. It's like, okay, today's a legal time to rob banks. So it's legal? Robbing banks, is it legal? I'm not sure.
Why not, right?
Field, what's the takeaway that you had from last night? Is there an overarching theme or anything that you view last night in the win for the Seahawks that you sort of take away as we look at that game?
Yeah, I mean, dominant performance from Seattle, really in all ways, but defensively was the story, of course. They harassed Drake May from start to finish. Drake May and the Patriots offense was completely invisible for really 3+ quarters and kind of had some garbage time. There was about that, 3 minutes of game action where it felt like maybe the game could get close, and then Drake May threw that errant pick down the field to seemingly just like, it was like he thought it was third down and it was an arm punt. Of course, it was not. But yeah, that defense was just outstanding. And I think just a good reminder that, certainly it's great to have a pass rusher that can dominate, but waves and waves of pass rush depth are never going to be an issue. And there's no such thing as too much investment of an offensive or defensive line, because we have now seen back-to-back Super Bowls where the defensive front, I thought, kind of owned the game, right? I mean, last year, obviously, with the Eagles' defensive front, and this year now with the Seahawks. So as teams think about, and we can always find a million different ways to skin the cat. Not every successful team is going to be built the same way as the next, but even the best of quarterbacks or even guys that are playing at high levels can become closer to mortals when they are not protected. And that was the case, obviously, last night with Drake May, who himself played poorly. But that Seahawks defensive front really, really shined. And if your team, regardless of who your team is, already has a good pass rush and they continue to invest further in it, you should not be questioning the move. You should be applauding the move.
Yeah, two things. I view defensive line as, I've said, if you feel like you have enough defensive linemen, then go ahead and get one more.
Right.
That's my view on the D-line, especially with what we're seeing today in today's football. And, going back to when the Chiefs first made the Super Bowl in 2019 season against the 49ers, every single team that has won the Super Bowl, 6 of those 7 has had at least 45 sacks on the season. And even more than that, so 6 of the 7 have at least 45. The only one that did not was Philadelphia last year, oddly enough, in their win. But every single one of those teams had a sack rate, a percentage of at least 7%, even the Eagles with only 41. So even with their lower, quote-unquote, lower number of sacks, they were still up at the 7% threshold of sack percentage, lesser opportunities there to get that particular sack. But what stands out to me, Field, is the last 2 years, the Super Bowl winner, the previous year's blitz rate, 14th, 5th, 4th, 14th, 7th, last 2 years, 28th and 26th. While having the sack rate and the sacks the last 2 years, but not blitzing. And I know the Seahawks blitzed a number of times last night, but that to me stands out as what we've seen the last 2 years is that the teams that have won the Super Bowl are getting there, are sacking the quarterback at a high enough rate, and they aren't blitzing to do it.
Yeah, if you can get home with 4, it's just such a game changer, right? I felt like we got a handful of the angles last night from NBC where it was sort of Drake May's perspective. It was the sky cam view, if you will, from a quarterback, and you're seeing these Patriots wide receivers who are running downfield, and there were a couple of times they showed it, and it was that they were just completely blanketed, and there were a couple other times where they showed it. There was one where, like, Stephon Diggs looked like he was starting to break free wide open. The problem was Drake May was already, basically under duress from these Seahawks rushers. So the ability to blitz a rush with 4 and generate pressure is such a game changer. It's easier said than done. It requires more than good rushers. It does require capable players on the back end. So kudos to Seattle for assembling a roster that has that competitive balance required to rush with 4. And, the Patriots this upcoming offseason, despite all the good things from this year, have to be thinking long and hard about an alternative sort of protection plan for Drake May, because it simply was not good enough for them this season.
Yeah, one of my other takeaways, Field Yates is our guest, ESPN.com, ESPN, our NFL insider. One of my other takeaways is that, in the AFC, not every Super Bowl winner you feel like, man, that was the best team that year. Sure. There are some times when it's like, man, the best team that year, but it's a one-game sample size. They didn't play well in this game, that game. I felt the best team entering the playoffs in the AFC was the Jags. They lose in the wild card round, and that's what happens. You go up against Josh Allen that put on his cape in that particular game, and you lose. But one of my takeaways, Field, is that I felt like last night we saw the best team in the NFL, especially the second half of the season, win the Super Bowl, that there's no debating or doubt of like, I don't know, the Seahawks sort of stole somebody else's Super Bowl that year. No, I think this was the Seahawks Super Bowl year, and they went out and won it. I think they were the best team, and I think the best team in the NFL won last night.
I agree on that part. When you and I had our conversation, we actually were aligned, Seahawks over Jaguars, so we were half correct with that prediction at the beginning of the playoffs. But yes, and as the game got closer, because I had picked the Seahawks when the matchup was first decided, and then I had to submit a second pick, which I stuck with my first pick. I felt like if I changed my pick, that might be a little bit some people might not take too well to that, but I must concede, as we got closer and closer to the game, it's hard not to think about how goofy this sport can be sometimes. And you're saying to yourself, well, the Patriots could win this game, right? I mean, Vrabel's going to have this team ready, and they've been so, they've just found ways this year. They'll get the job done, I think. Possibly, right? Could they? Maybe. And then it was like, no, it wasn't like, the end of the first half, you knew for sure that game was over. But the Seahawks defense was stifling, just pretty much start to finish. The Patriots had like a touch of momentum on their first drive, and then just as soon as they got that momentum, Drake May takes a sack, and it felt like, here we are, that Seahawks defense is the best unit on the field. So pretty impressive job. I know the stats been floating around for a while now, but John Schneider, their GM, has built 2 separate Super Bowl winning teams, and he has had an entirely new 53-man roster and a new head coach between those 2 teams. So pretty impressive stuff right there about what the Seattle Seahawks have done.
Visiting with Field Yates from ESPN. Let's talk about the Patriots moving forward. Is this a team that is getting ready to be a contender in the AFC the next 4, 5, 6 years, especially with Drake May on a rookie contract? Or is this closer to the 2006 Chicago Bears and Rex Grossman and a good year, and then sort of just be among the mix of teams the next 3, 4 years or so?
Well, it's interesting because, they already, I guess by definition, they already are a contender, right? Having made the Super Bowl and the quarterback being in the second season. What does feel like things, where it feels like things were different this year, is that a couple of the quarterbacks and the teams that we fully expect to be in the mix going forward they're not this year, right? I mean, the Chiefs obviously missing the playoffs, and the Ravens also missing the playoffs this year. If you want to include Joe Burrow and the Bengals, you can. I think it's probably a slight step down, at least personally, but three quarterbacks that have been amongst the heavy hitters over the past half decade were outside of the playoff field this year. So Patriots, are they going to be a good team next year? Am I picking them to win the AFC? My initial blush, my first blush reaction is no. On top of that, their division is not even a shoe-in for next year because Buffalo gave them a run for their money this year, and I think we'll be back next season as well. So New England, certainly there's a lot to be excited about, and the quarterback, despite what was shown last night, 23 years old, they certainly have their guy going forward, right, for a long time. So there is plenty of room and reason for optimism right now in New England. I also think, just being realistic about it, this is going to be a much deeper AFC playoff picture next year. And if you told me the Patriots got the 6th seed next season, that wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. So I do believe that this should be a season the Patriots fans are proud of and look back on fondly. At the same time, they've got their work cut out for them, because between the Bills, I believe, the Ravens, the Texans, the Jaguars, I think that the Chiefs and the Broncos and the Chargers, this conference is going to be pretty darn legit going forward.
Seeing these two defensive teams that, have defensive-minded coaches, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago when the Super Bowl was set with Mike Macdonald and Mike Vrabel, and seeing a team that has a middle-of-the-road contract for a quarterback in Sam Darnold, not the $60 million and not the rookie deal, but a team that can pressure with 4, Kenneth Walker, clearly a difference maker in running the football, and him, being a true weapon, especially the last, couple 3 months of the season for the Seahawks. Is this a one-time deal in looking back in the course of NFL, history in the next 4 or 5 years, or is this a multi-year trend of running the ball, heavier personnel, defenses, being more of a focus than the offenses and the high-level quarterbacks and offensive coaches? Is this an aberration that will stand out, or something in 4 or 5 years that we go, no, that was part of the trend of the NFL that particular time?
Yeah, I think it's more the latter here. Football tends to be cyclical. We tend to see these things come and go. So yes, it was, kind of a throwback night last night for Seattle. There was one offensive touchdown scored, and it was by a tight end, and the running back wins. Kenneth Walker III wins the Super Bowl MVP, and you're thinking to yourself, this feels like 1998 all over again. That being said, wouldn't surprise me if a couple of years from now we're talking about some of the dominant offensive teams being back to running track meets on Sundays, as opposed to grinding out drives with sort of this run-pass blend that makes them unique right now. So I think that the stuff that usually leads to finding out who will be the most successful teams is those that identify the trends and get ahead of them sooner, right? And those are the ones that I think have been successful of late, and I think will be successful in this next iteration of it. So it's fun. I enjoy sort of the shape-shifting of NFL offenses right now, but I do think we're probably in more of a phase than the start of some perpetual trend.
Field Yates is our guest. What do you think the strategy should be this offseason for the Chiefs as we, look ahead and, mention the dates that are, coming up for the league, but Chiefs are over the salary cap by a decent amount right now, but as any good accountant would say, I can take a $10 million profit and turn it into a $10 million loss. So salary cap sort of the same way. What do you think the strategy is for the Chiefs? Offensive focus, defensive line focus for trying to get back to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I was going to say the salary cap stuff right now. I mean, it's sort of by design, right? A couple pen swipes, and next thing you know, you're back on track here, right? Most notably, Patrick Mahomes' base salary and roster bonus could help you in a major way. I think it's offensive first, right? I think it's getting a dynamic player in the running game. You have to. And another wide receiver too. We'll see if the most recent accusations surrounding Rashee Rice result in any sort of discipline, but obviously you have to be thinking about wide receiver this offseason as well. Yes, the defensive line, we started the conversation there. You definitely have to address that. It does feel to me like the Chiefs played more consistently championship-level defense this year than they did championship-level offense. So they've got tough decisions to make. It's extension candidates. It's guys who might be coming to the end of their contracts. And that's the reality the Chiefs are living in right now. And it probably will be, assuming they stay, in the competitive mix for the next 5 or so years, is that, the off seasons where the Chiefs go into the off season with tons of salary cap space and it's buy mode only, like those are gone unless this team really regresses for a handful of years. So like some recent off seasons, just with a different tenor given how this season played out, the Chiefs are going to go into this year with a lot of question marks, but and difficult decisions that they have to make. I often remind people, though, the reason why they pay people a lot of money in positions of power are not to make the easy decisions, it's to make the difficult decisions. So I think Brett Veach and his staff, that they certainly understand the challenge they have on tap, but it's a good opportunity as well. But they have to find ways. They must find ways to get more explosive. And I think if at number 9, Jeremiah Love, running back from Notre Dame, is somehow there, which I'm not totally sure he will be, but if he is, I think the Chiefs should be sprinting that card into the sort of the metaphorical sprint to the desk at Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on April 23rd.
All right, couple quick ones for you. Travis Kelce, is he back next year?
The winds seem to be blowing that way. I haven't heard anything one way or the other, but I'm a gigantic Travis Kelce fan, so I would certainly love to see that.
And last but not least, who wins next year?
I had the Rams over the Broncos in my very, way too early prediction, so I think I submitted that on Friday, so no reason to change it between now and then.
All right, we'll see what happens. Field Yates, ESPN, NFL Insider. Field, had a blast this year, as always. Thank you so much for coming on weekly with us and breaking down the NFL. Have a good offseason. We'll catch up from time to time, and looking forward to next year already. Thank you, sir.
You as well, Jason. Take care, man.
Absolutely. There's Field Yates. He's the best. ESPN's Field Yates, our NFL Insider. Weekly conversations here on Monday. A lot of times breaking down the Chiefs game, and the last few years breaking down the Chiefs game, coming off a Super Bowl win or a loss, but this year breaking down a game the Chiefs were not a part of and an entire playoffs the Chiefs were not a part of, and that's what they have to fix going into this offseason. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. Thank you to Field Yates joining us. Final conversation of this 25 football season, wrapping up the Super Bowl last night. And the Seattle Seahawks winning the Super Bowl. He's got Rams over Broncos for next year in his way too early Super Bowl prediction that they had to give out on Friday. And staying with that. Kelsey says the winds certainly feel like they are blowing in that direction to Kelsey returning to the Kansas City Chiefs. When you hear Diana Rossini say that the two sides are meeting to figure something out that works for both. And Ian Rappaport saying what he has heard is that Kelsey is leaning towards that return, and the Chiefs are meeting with them to figure out, he's not under contract, so how would that work for Travis Kelsey? I mean, we heard when he talked about Eric Bieniemy, I said that increased it by about 5%, but I still thought he was going to retire. He just seemed like a guy that was just, tired, and worn down, and gave it everything he had for one more year and spent the entire offseason getting in fantastic shape and ready to go. And then the season didn't go as planned. And it's like you can keep coming back to try to have a better storybook ending, but is that ever going to actually happen, to keep coming back and trying again and trying again?
Yes.
Hopefully that is the case for Travis Kelce.
Well, then once you win, you have to also pull, was it a Red Auerbach or was it a Bill Russell of, I can't retire out on top.
Yes.
I have to let everyone know that this is my last time to give him a chance to take me out. Forget what it was a great story.
Yeah.
It was in a...
Yeah, so clearly Travis Kelce has a couple more years because win the Super Bowl in the 26th season and then be like, well, I got to come back, see if we can go back to back again.
You can't leave when you're on a heater.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
So
that's right. It's like Jack Caglione. You don't want to bring him up when the offense is struggling because you don't want him to feel like he has to be the savior, so that you want the offense performing. But if the offense is so bad and not performing, you probably need the help.
Yeah.
So you bring up Jack Caglione because you need the help.
Catch 22.
It's absolutely.
Joseph Heller taught us that.
That's, yes. And Heller high water, we'll see if the Chiefs will have Travis Kelce. And they're going to need to be better running the football no matter what, come hell or high water. Joseph or not.
I've said for a while, Chiefs better hope he comes back, because if not, there is another running back. Obviously, the defensive line. What are you going to do at safety? What are you going to do with the cornerback? What are you going to do between Drew and with Leo? I mean, there are a lot of issues, or at least a lot of moving pieces. If you lose Travis Kelce too, well, then tight end becomes a paramount position that you have to figure out.
I think it already is, because even if Travis Kelce comes back, I mean, it's 1 year stints.
Oh, I get it, but at least you have 1 year.
Yeah, you got to try to find who's going to be taking that place of Travis Kelce. So certainly feels like it's leading to a 1 more year run. And how do they make it work for both sides? Maybe there's a void year or two that's thrown on to where that salary cap number is deflated while feeling like you're giving Travis Kelce representative money for his play.
Hey, I have not seen the wheels fall off yet. I think there's still wheels on there.
Sure. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy heading up until 2 o'clock. Thank you to Field Yates in the previous hour. We got some Learn Funniest Best coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. We will talk about the Big Monday game coming up tonight with Kansas taking on Arizona, undefeated, number one in the land, Arizona Wildcats. And that at Allen Fieldhouse, where Bill Self is just simply a magician at Allen Fieldhouse on Big Monday. So we will talk about that as well. 913-912-4810. Talk to Field Yates about what this offseason will look like for the Kansas City Chiefs and the strategy. And he said the strategy for him is you start on the offense. Says offensively, he said offense first, get a dynamic runner in there, and then you need to look at wide receiver. As he said, in that not knowing what the allegations, the latest one with Rashee Rice, what that will bring about, if anything, for the Chiefs and for Rashee Rice. But you got to find and probably look at wide receivers, but you must find ways to get more explosive, he said. And to that degree, the defense was fine this year.
Yeah.
It was the offense that was the issue. But I think when we look at pressuring the quarterback, it's like the defense was fine, but where do they need to improve? Okay, sacking the quarterback, pressuring the quarterback. The offense was the issue. Where do they have to improve? And it's getting explosive, getting big plays. How do you do that? You need a dynamic runner. Find ways to put some pieces around Patrick Mahomes, and maybe that dynamic runner does the heavy lifting for you. Because James Cook did a lot of heavy lifting for Josh Allen in not having light boxes as much for Josh Allen this year for the Bills as Patrick Mahomes faced constantly. Light boxes, 6 men in the box, 5 men in the box. Oh, you still can't run against that. So why would we adjust if you can't even run against our light box? That's fine. So Patrick Mahomes constantly facing light boxes and Josh Allen facing medium or stack boxes at times. So James Cook makes a difference from that standpoint. A dynamic runner could make a difference for Patrick Mahomes from that standpoint.
Yeah, and I've pushed back a little bit on the thought process of I think even a wide receiver. I'm saying Chiefs should still draft a wide receiver. They should still try and bring in a veteran. But they've spent some good draft capital on wide receiver. It's not like they've just avoided it. Mm-hmm. They've just had some issues, and I don't think they necessarily got it wrong. Rashee Rice, it's more off the field / injury. Xavier Worthy, I think, is just being misused. I think Worthy's a really good wide receiver. I believe that. I think... And I've changed my tune because I was not anti-Worthy, but I wanted Ladd McConkey coming out of the draft. I thought Ladd was the guy. The route running ability I thought was perfect for this style of offense. But Xavier Worthy was misused as a MVS or Justin Watson type of player, McCole Hardman type of player last year. That's not who he is, at least not right now in his career. I think he's a good route runner. I believe that. I think Xavier Worthy is more early Hollywood Brown than Hollywood Brown was last year. I wish Worthy would have played in that role. So I think there's some guys already on this roster. It's just how do you use them in their best possible spot?
We got the duplicity at wide receiver. So you had Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, and Tyquan Thornton. 3 of your top 5 are kind of the same guy. You had Rashee Rice and Juju Smith-Schuster that are kind of the same guy. And you just had an older version of that. So you got Rashee Rice.
Sure.
Juju. That's one type receiver. And then Worthy, Hollywood, Tyquan, another type receiver. You're not really rounding out your wide receiver room when you're viewing Xavier Worthy as more McCole Hardman.
I don't view him like that, but that's
I'm not saying you.
That's almost how the Chiefs seemingly
the
viewed him this year. The royal you.
Yes, the Chiefs have viewed Xavier Worthy the last couple of years as a first-round draft pick, McCole Hardman. Like that's what he is. And until he can prove that he can be an all-around receiver and know where the sideline is, and run some better routes, and I think he can be.
We've seen him look so good in the intermediate route, and then they just go away from it, and I'm perplexed. And again, maybe it's because they only trust him for 3 intermediate routes, so anytime he does it, he gets 3 of those a game, and he looks great. Run more of those. Because Hollywood Brown couldn't do it last year. And you keep trying to do this with Hollywood whenever he got the opportunity in the middle, and that way you don't have to worry about the sideline.
Yeah.
Intermediate, you don't have to worry about the sideline if he's going in the middle of the field. I don't know.
Well, you were using Hollywood and Tyquan Thornton early in the season, and they were. I mean, Hollywood had the game that he had against the Chargers when Rashee Rice was suspended and Xavier Worthy got injured, and then the next couple of weeks, what Tyquan Thornton was doing and Hollywood Brown. Then you get Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice back. Those numbers go down for Hollywood. They disappear for Tyquan Thornton, essentially.
Using Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah, and the offense feels like it became more and more stagnant. It became more and more short passes, quick throws, get the ball out, not able to run the football, being more predictable, less dynamic offensively. And that became a big part of the frustration for Chiefs fans this year, because when you were playing better defenses, the offense struggled. And that can typically be the results in the NFL. The offenses look better against bad defenses, don't look as good against good defenses. But as we pointed out and talked about in 2022, the Chiefs' offense against the best defenses that year was still really good. They were not ebbing and flowing with terrible defense. Boy, they put up crazy numbers. Awesome defense, they looked rough. All that combined, they were number 9 in offense that year. No, there was a reason they were number 1, is because terrible defense, they cooked. Really good defense, they cooked. They still did their thing, found ways to get it done. They haven't done that in the last few years. How do you get back to that? And again, people can call it naive. I'll call it, history and just, evidence. I don't think Andy Reid is a dummy that's lost his fastball and forgot how to coach. I think Andy Reid went into the season with bad strategy and hope and personnel that wasn't going to match the way that defenses were playing them. And switching up in the middle of the season wasn't necessarily possible the way that they did a few years ago, because they didn't have the personnel to do that, to get heavier, to be more of a running football team. They were kind of stuck in the way that they were built and designed in the offseason to attack defenses, in which they thought Rice, Hollywood, Worthy was going to just go out there and create all this space for Patrick Mahomes to work, which was then going to create space for a explosive Pacheco pre-injury and a Kareem Hunt to pick up short yardage, and a Brashard Smith that's sort of a puzzle piece, or a chess piece, I should say, or Elijah Mitchell with the game-breaking speed and using all these different things. The offense is going to be awesome. Defense is going to be good enough because we're going to be playing with a lead and playing in front, and it's a revenge tour and whatever you want to call it, and it did not turn out that way. And defenses knew what they were doing, and they couldn't find ways to find space, and it eventually stagnated when it was against middle of the pack or good defenses.
And again, part of it is we know the final record now, especially with Patrick getting injured and losing the games, and how bad it looked without Patrick, which is another storyline of Patrick. It went from Patrick's having a pretty bad year. Like, I thought Patrick was having a down year, obviously for him, but just in general, I was like, man, Patrick doesn't look the same. To when he went out and you saw what the offense looked like with anyone else running the offense, and you go, Patrick was duct taping this together because it is atrocious. They can't move the ball. They can't get a first down, let alone a touchdown. So a lot of things have to change. Offensive line, luckily, you feel pretty good about. Even if you move on from Juwan Taylor, you feel okay with Jalen Moore there. Had a little bit of a disappointing year, I think Jalen Moore did. His best game was the game when he goes thrust into the starting lineup, right?
Yeah.
With Detroit. Josh Simmons, can you count on him? But I think Esapole grew into at least a viable swing tackle, which was nice to see. There
were some nice things that came from this year.
Kingsley grew into a stud left guard
that you can build off of. Josh Simmons, when he played, looked like a better left tackle than the guy who was taken top 5.
Yeah,
and that's
when he played.
Yeah,
it's tough.
Got to deal with injuries that have happened in his career. Last year at Ohio State, this year, freak injury, and that he, dislocates and breaks his wrist on a chip from Kareem Hunt getting help. But, he also missed 4 games with whatever was happening, with him or back home or personal or family or handling business or who knows.
Yeah.
All the stuff behind the scenes. He still missed those 4 games. So is he a guy that's going to be there for 17 weeks, or is he a guy that you count on 12 to 13 and then the other 5 or 6 or more, you got to figure out who you can have play in that spot.
The George Kittle of left tackle.
Yeah, when he's out there, boy, he's really, really
great,
good.
But
How often is he going to be out there? I hope that is not the case for Josh Simmons, but it was the case for Ohio State. And it's like, well, those are freak, injuries. Oh, it's the NFL.
Yeah.
Is it a freak injury or did you play NFL football?
Correct.
So, like, well, no, freak injury is, Salvi or
me.
Just Sterling.
Doing laundry.
Yes.
Breaking an ankle.
Falling down the stairs, breaking an ankle.
That would be considered a freak injury.
Freak injury. It's like, wow, this is no. Getting your knee getting collapsed trying to pass block is not a freak injury. Getting your wrist crushed by a running back coming to chip on a defensive end in bad timing is not a freak injury. That's the
getting
NFL.
Injured because you had a nightmare about spiders and you wake up
Yes.
and you do that, or if you fall asleep in a tanning bed.
Yes.
And you, I love baseball injuries, dude.
Yeah.
Baseball.
Or Antonio Brown, you got in the cryogenic chamber or whatever it was.
Baseball injuries, really though.
You got in there without anything on the bottom of your feet, and you burned the bottom of your feet off because it was so cold.
Baseball injuries.
Well, it's probably just going to give you
Funniest.
off the funniest base. Oh, those are hilarious.
Well, for us.
Oh, look at him. Look at him. His leg is hanging off to the side. What a hilarious.
I mean,
That's
there's some
great.
good ones.
Are there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, good. Glad you find Schadenfreude with some of these injuries that have, affected people's careers.
Well,
Sterling.
no, I mean,
Have you found any yet?
but yeah.
Are they just actual injuries on
Oh,
the
what
field?
happened this one? Zach Wheeler, he caught the nail on his middle finger on his pitching hand while putting his pants on,
Oh, that happened.
and he couldn't he
That
had to
sucks.
miss a start because he basically got his finger caught in his zipper.
That sucks. This right here, that cut on my knuckle is from my other middle finger catching it and slicing it. I'm like, how the hell does that happen?
Carlos Correa.
But it happened.
Carlos Correa in 2019,
And it hurt.
a rib fracture while getting a massage.
Yeah, sure.
How do you do that?
It was probably the device that they put on him to buzz when it was a ball, when it was a fastball or a curveball. It just got a little bit too. Broke his rib.
You know what
Jose Altuve was just jumping on him.
Yeah.
Cespedes twisted his ankle while messing with a wild boar.
Who
I remember that one. That was that
Yeah.
2019.
As one does. Who amongst us though? Like who among Sterling? Be the first to judge then if you've never hurt your ankle while messing with a wild boar. Okay. Because I'm not going to be throwing stones when my house is filled with wild boars and made of glass. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not throwing stones.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Oh, Joel Zumaya.
Joel?
Zumaya?
Joel Zumaya.
Yeah, for the Tigers in 2006. Injured his right wrist while playing Guitar Hero and missed 3 games.
Oh, that makes sense.
He was too into Guitar Hero and
For
had to miss
sure.
games.
That's a Sterling injury right there.
That's totally a Sterling injury.
Hey,
Yes.
hey,
His golden tee wrist.
Yeah, I got
my golden tee hand.
video
Yeah.
game thumb, and now I can't grip the baseball on my curveball because I've been playing the video game so much.
Sammy Sosa sneezed so hard he had got back spasms and landed on the IL.
Yep.
Well, I remember the Trevor Bauer game where he had like his hand sliced open by the drone.
Oh,
and
by
he's
a
just
drone.
bleeding everywhere.
Yeah.
It was in the playoffs too. He had to come out of the game.
Marty Cordova fell asleep in a tanning bed.
Marty Cordova.
Yeah,
Wow.
fell asleep in a tanning bed, and he had to miss he couldn't play in day games because he was burnt so bad
Wow.
that he wasn't allowed to play in day games.
Wow. But what, I mean, but he could play in night games?
I guess because it wasn't. No
I mean,
sun.
I get
Yeah.
the sun being out there, but throw on a bunch of SPF.
Yeah.
I would think the sunburn would bother you with everything that you're having to wear. Like you can't go out there and just a jock strap and that's it.
Steve Sparks dislocated
Anymore.
his left shoulder trying to rip open a phone book.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Again.
Oh, I forgot about Ricky Henderson.
Who amongst us?
This with the Blue Jays, he got frostbite on his toe. It was kind of like an Antonio Brown situation.
Yeah.
He left an ice pack on his foot too long and had frostbite.
You got to put that towel on there, man.
Yeah.
Got to put that towel on that thing. So.
Glen Allen Hill
Yeah.
falling through a glass table with the nightmares about spiders. Mm-hmm. Remember that one?
Yeah, those things. It's you got to watch out for that. And somehow we came across this injury. How'd we get here?
George Brett in '83. Heard that
Josh Simmons. That's right.
Bill Buckner was going to go up to bat, and he was doing laundry. Laundry incident. See, I'm just like George Brett.
I've always said you are the George Brett of laundry.
He didn't want to miss the at-bat, so he sprinted to the TV room, smashed his foot on the door jamb, and had to go in the IL. So I'm just like George Brett.
Interesting. Is it like Bo Jackson getting thrown out of a game because his wife was going into labor, so he could see his kid being born?
It's amazing.
Getting thrown out, you got to get thrown out of the game.
So we got here from Josh Simmons, right?
That's right. Josh Simmons actually playing
those are
and being out there.
Those are freak incidents. That's
Right,
not.
yes.
That's what we got there. Okay, that makes way more sense now.
Right. So whatever took place with that, with Josh Simmons when he's out there, there were some positives that came from this year. Gelati, Noel Williams. If there's some good things, there are some negatives that came from this year. Jaden Hicks took a step backwards, which means the Chiefs and Spags and Brett Veach may almost feel obligated to pay Brian Cook. Because, by the way, they almost felt like they took the reins off Brian Cook. That Spags just said, go play. Be aggressive.
Yeah.
Instinctual. Go play instinctual football. And he was really good this year. Like, that was the best we have seen Brian Cook play. And good for him. Contract year. Those things are typically undefeated. But good for Brian Cook. But they didn't have Justin Reed anymore to play that way. So they told Brian Cook, go play this way. Stop with the doubting yourself or worried about making mistakes. Read it. Go play football. You know the defense. You know where you're supposed to be. You know what you're supposed to do. You know what everybody else is supposed to do. And look what happened. How many times was Brian Cook making tackles at the line of scrimmage, coming up, making hits, tackling on the wide receiver screens on the outside, coming up and helping out with the run game or being there to knock away a football. And it's like, wow, that's what Justin Reed would be doing. Now, do they miss Justin Reed? Yeah, I think Justin Reed and Brian Cook together would have been pretty good. But I think they assumed that Jaden Hicks would fill the role maybe of Brian Cook and Brian Cook go to Justin Reed, or they thought Jaden Hicks would be Justin Reed, and it wasn't happening. So Brian Cook, now you need to play more of that playmaking safety because Jaden Hicks isn't really playing. So now we got to find other ways to sort of go about missing Justin Reed and paying Christian Fulton essentially what Justin Reed was making for the New Orleans Saints.
You can make the case that they got lucky that Brian Cook reemerged into this player because they were, you're right, counting on Jaden Hicks.
Right.
And that was a all training camp conversation. But even during training camp and then preseason and then early in the regular season, the whole conversation was they spoke so highly of Jaden Hicks, yet he's not playing. Mm-hmm. He's on the second team. And then we saw him in games, and we go, okay, we see why he was second team. It's not that they didn't want him to or give him an opportunity. It's he's not really playable right now.
Yeah.
He's not doing what they thought he was going to do.
Yeah, he should have been playing a whole lot more, and he started to the last couple 3 weeks when you were out of it because
and he looked better.
Yeah, if you say he was in the wrong spot or didn't know where he was supposed to be, well, then put him out there. That's when you're out there to make mistakes. Those were glorified preseason games.
And Christian Fulton now, let's be real, might be coming back because he's under contract. The cut versus keep.
It's only a couple million that they would save.
And I know he didn't play the first 13-ish games. Yeah. He looked really good the last 3-ish, where you thought, okay, this is a viable outside corner that maybe you can move McDuffie if you keep him into the slot. You have to see what you're going to do with Jalen Watson. What's that contract going to look like?
It's $13 million cap hit for Christian Fulton, $8 million dead cap hit to let him go. So you save $5 million. But here's what you miss if you say, you save $5 million. Okay. So then the next cornerback, whoever's going to play cornerback for what Christian Fulton was or play that spot, well, you're only paying $1.5 million to that guy. No, you're not. You're paying $9.5 million.
Yeah.
Because that spot's already taken up $8 million for Christian Fulton. So if you pay somebody $5 million for that spot, you're paying them the same as Christian Fulton. Correct. You're not saving $5 million because you still have to fill that spot if you release them.
Correct.
So it's like, well, you're saving $5 million and you're losing $8 million. So you take the full 13, or you start off replacing Christian Fulton with $8 million already to that particular player.
Can you get a better player for $5 million or less? And the answer is more than likely going to be no. Yeah. And so for that reason, I would keep Christian Fulton. Again, I know he was somewhat of a...
Yeah, I would too. I would keep, especially if you're not going to re-sign Jalen Watson.
I think you have to.
If you extend Trent McDuffie, then you can't re-sign Jalen Watson.
Yeah.
I think you got to choose one of those. If you trade Trent McDuffie, then you should sign Jalen Watson.
You could probably sign Cook and Watson or extend McDuffie. I don't think there's a world where you can sign McDuffie and Cook or McDuffie and Watson. I just think that the money's not going to work.
Well, yeah, I don't think you can have all three of those guys.
Well, no,
return.
even if you,
Even
I think
two of
two
the
is going to
three?
be tough. I think the only two you could probably have is Watson and Cook,
I would
and even
say
that's
that,
going to
yeah.
be pushing it.
Yeah, I would say that's probably what you would have to go about doing if you were going to have two of the three. It's like either McDuffie or potentially Watson and Cook.
Yes.
But that's the point of McDuffie, no Watson, no Cook, or Watson, Cook, and the draft pick you get back from McDuffie.
Yeah.
That's to where, I viewed it, and a number of other people viewing it as, to me, it makes more sense to trade Trent McDuffie this offseason if you're not going to use him at his best position. Like, if you were going to sign Trent McDuffie as the highest paid slot corner, great value. Amazing value. Because he's an all-pro slot cornerback. He's not an all-pro outside corner. He hasn't been the last couple of years.
He's probably a 15.
Top 10, top 15 outside corner. And certain games, top 5. I mean, he's played in certain games really, really, really well. But he's going to want top-end money. The problem is he's his best in the slot. And they took him from being that slot corner to the last 2 years playing more outside corner. And they've lost something on defense from that perspective. Now, having L'Jarius Sneed and a Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, whoever on the outside, and having Trent McDuffie be able to play in the slot, that was awesome. That was great.
Yeah.
That was in that 2023 season when they were such a good defense. Playing on the outside, Jalen Watson coming on strong, but maybe not feeling like you're, having somebody else that can fill that role for Trent McDuffie. Like, I really thought this past offseason, the spring and summer of 25, it was signaling that McDuffie was going to play slot. That they signed Christian Fulton, they draft Noel Williams. Those are guys that only play on the outside. Noel Williams only played on the outside. Christian Fulton only played on the outside. It's like, okay, you've got Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams. Jalen Watson, if he's healthy, that's great. Noel Williams, Christian Fulton. You've got guys there. Now you can have Trent McDuffie play the slot. You're not re-signing Justin Reed, so now Shamari Connor can move back to safety and be a guy that you can move around. But instead, they just went with we're playing Trent McDuffie, and Shamari Connor's going to play at the slot. If there's another thing that we have learned from the teams in the championship game and the Super Bowl, is that look at the slot cornerbacks and how great the production is from those slot cornerbacks / safeties.
Sure.
Just those that are safety. Quentin Lake for the Rams.
Yeah.
Eamon Worry for the Seattle Seahawks. Like, you've got the defensive backs for the Broncos just in general.
All of them.
and slot corner, slot safety, whatever it is. Like, you're seeing that. The Chargers, there's a reason why they took Derwin James from being the player that he was, and Jesse Minter said, oh, no, Derwin, you're going to be playing down at slot. We're going to put you down here, and you're going to be a badass against the run. You're going to blitz, and you're good enough to cover tight ends and other slot receivers, especially a power slot. You can cover that guy. And look what the Ravens did when they finally said, what are we going to do with Kyle Hamilton? Oh, we can use him different ways, but they could never figure it out. Then they said, well, let's just go ahead and put him in a space that we can create that advantage with him playing in the slot. And he's been one of the best defensive players. Eamon Worry. Well, he's a deep safety that, I don't know, does he break on the football enough? Does he read it well enough? And the Seahawks and Mike McDonald said, oh, we don't care. We're going to put that guy in the slot. His size, speed, combination, coverage ability, length, that's our slot cornerback. We're going to draft him in the second round, put him there, and leave him alone. And he's,
Yeah.
second place of Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Insane.
And so you've got the way teams are doing that defensively, while Spags throws Shamari Connor there, which is the same idea,
Yes.
by the way, that those other teams are using. It's the same idea of putting that safety that can be good against the run and blitz and do some of those things. The problem is he can't cover. So Spags has the same strategy of those other teams. Mike McDonald, Jesse Minter, the DC for the Ravens the last couple of years that I forget his name. Not there anymore with Minter there. But those guys that have moved safeties into that spot. The Rams and Quentin Lake, safety, captain. You're now our slot corner. Like, we've seen that become what NFL defenses are doing. So Spags is not like, oh my God, this is such a surprise to me. He saw it. They just don't have the guy to do it that can do some of the things that give you the advantage with the size, speed, and is good in coverage.
Yeah.
Because Shamari Connor lacks in that. But Trent McDuffie gave you that. And it's like, man, if you're going to sign him, the problem is you're now going to sign him for top money as an outside corner, and his best position is to play him at a slot to where he can be an all-pro difference maker, which those players are becoming more and more valuable, but it's like tight end wide receiver. The wide receivers are valuable, and the top are getting paid a lot of money. The tight ends are becoming more and more valuable, but that gap is still there from top end tight end money to top end wide receiver money, and the differences they make and the value that they bring, top end cornerback money and top end slot corner money, there's still a gap. But the value and the difference that slot corner can make. The issue is, to play him at slot corner, McDuffie, you're going to have to pay him outside corner money.
I will say, and maybe you shouldn't view it this way, but this is how the team might view it. $30 million a year. Let's say hypothetically that's what it is, right? Let's just say it's around $30 million. That's what it's going to be around for McDuffie. $30 million a year. A couple of weeks ago, that was going to be a lot of cap space. Well, then we have the new numbers, at least the new reported numbers.
Mm-hmm. 301 to 305 million.
It makes it a little more palatable. Still a lot. I'm not saying it's cheap, but again, I think to your point.
Yeah, Sauce and Stingley are 30 million.
I think to your point, free agency, you're no longer having a lot of guys reach. If you're that good with the salary cap coming up, and everyone has money. Well, teams are going to go, well, we have a lot of money too. We're going to pay to keep our guys.
Yeah.
You might have a better chance of keeping these guys now just because, one, not a lot of free agents you're going to go out and overspend for. Two, you know what you're going to get with these guys. Three, it's not like L'Jarius Sneed where there was a big injury to the knee or at least some concern with the medicals that made you nervous.
To where you could only get a third rounder for him.
Charvarius Ward was interesting where I think they wanted to keep him, but also at that time, I know his contract wasn't large, but I think that was the COVID time, so the salary cap was a lot more strenuous at that time where you didn't really know what you could do. I'm just looking back now. I just with that salary cap rising and without the plethora of free agents available, hey, maybe you overpay or pay a little more than you would like to, but with the salary cap the way it is, more palatable.
Yeah, it's looking back, had you signed McDuffie when the Broncos signed Pat Surtain.
Oh, you look good.
Look pretty good because Surtain's making 24 a year. J.C. Horn's making 25.
But we knew that.
Stingley 30. Sauce 30.1. Deron Bland $23 million. $22.5 million. I think the Chiefs will probably look at it and go, hey, we'd like to pay a 24-25. And McDuffie would look at it and go, hold on. Sauce and Derek Stingley are at 30.1 and 30.
Yeah.
And the third highest is 25. There's a decent gap between there that I'm going to be sliding right into. Or I'm going to bet 30.10001.
Yeah.
And be the highest average salary, which can be funny money, as Tyreek Hill said, and why he didn't want to agree to the contract the Chiefs were offering before they traded him is said, well, yeah, but they were backloading with all the base salary in that last year, which none of it was guaranteed, and you weren't going to have him play on that contract anyway, and it was all funny money. You can do that if you want to get to a certain average salary for whatever, ego sort of fix that some of the players have. But I think that's probably what you're going to be looking at when, the practical guarantees are Stingley at $89 million, Sauce Gardner at $85 million, and then Surtain at $77.5. Again, there's a decent gap between there that either Trent McDuffie slides in right between Sauce at 85.4 and Surtain at 77.5, or he's at $90 million and surpasses Derek Stingley.
Yeah. Again, there's some.
But then playing his second best position.
Yeah, there are some intriguing things you have to think. Again, what makes it even more difficult is you're so good at drafting, identifying, and developing cornerbacks and secondary players that Noel Williams looks like a guy. Jalen Watson has turned into a dude as a seventh rounder. Christian Fulton looked like a viable outside corner, like a CB2 in his 3 or 4 games that we saw him play. I mean, it's just when you can develop guys so well out there, also you have to realize what are teams going to give up. Teams saw L'Jarius Sneed go to Tennessee and look bad and overpaid.
Yeah.
Do they want to be the next team that gets burnt?
But I think the difference being
trade-wise,
L'Jarius Sneed had those knee injuries.
Sure.
And there were teams that were like, yeah, we're not going to trade for him because we don't trust the knee. And the Titans did. So you got the third rounder for him, but you didn't get a whole lot, and they only paid him $19 million per year. So it wasn't like they traded for L'Jarius Sneed and gave him $26 million.
Now, we know there's going to be some restructures this year, Patrick's contract, all of that stuff, right? We all assume we know that's going to take place to get cap compliant.
Yeah.
But what happens when you sign and extend a guy? Well, remember that first year, it's pretty favorable cap number, right?
Right.
That might even be more helpful to sign a guy like McDuffie, because if you do, this year's cap, Watson, if you re-signed him, that cap would be, relatively speaking, beneficial for cap compliance this year.
Yeah, because then you would wonder, because McDuffie is counting 13.6 against the cap this year, because that's the fifth-year option, because he didn't make a Pro Bowl. Instead of $19 million or $20 million if he had made a Pro Bowl. Made an All-Pro, but that's not in the contract. It's not in the CBA.
Shedeur Sanders would have been more money.
Yeah, that's right. Shedeur Sanders gets a better escalator in his fifth-year option, but he doesn't have it.
Doesn't have one, yeah.
But would have, especially in the performance bonuses, player performance bonuses, whatever that is when you get to that fourth year of your rookie contract. But McDuffie's 13.6. So if they sign him to an extension, do they drop that number? Because if it was 19 or 20, then I think you could say, they might drop that number, give you some relief.
Yeah.
But they might drop it to 13, where it is right now. Like, they may go in and say, we're gonna extend Trent McDuffie, and the cap hit's going to be the same as it would be if we didn't, and just playing on the fifth-year option. The question also is Trent McDuffie willing to play on a fifth-year option? If you get into this offseason and go, well, we couldn't trade him, couldn't find the value there, and we can't come to an agreement on what the money is because he's asking for too much. Yeah. We don't want to pay that. We're sitting here with this. He's getting 13.6 this year. We're just going to have to play on this fifth year. Is he willing to do that?
I've said this many times. I'm always surprised that teams don't do this more. I know it comes off as a bleep. I know you don't want to get sideways. But at some point, you are the team and you have some leeway here, because not only do you have the fifth-year option, you have the franchise tag.
Yeah.
And with the franchise tag, that's already might be even $1 million or two cheaper than what it would be on an AAV.
And if you essentially, whatever you'd be getting, let's say you get a second rounder for Trent McDuffie this year.
Yeah.
Then if you play on the fifth-year option and don't sign him, you'd pay 13.6 this year and then get a third rounder for him.
And again,
it'd be the end of the third round.
Yeah.
But the money he's going to get in the offseason is going to bring back a third-round draft pick, a third-round comp pick for Trent McDuffie.
I'm surprised teams don't do this more. Again, I know it's not, but it's in the rules. Again, I know it comes off maybe a little harsh, but it's in the rules. It's part of the contract in the NFL. You could, if he didn't want to sign, which I'm not saying he's not going to, or this is his motto, his mantra, but like, you could say you're playing the fifth year and we can franchise tag you. So you holding out does you no good. There's 2 years of control that the Chiefs would have.
Yeah. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. I do want to get into some Big Monday as Kansas in action against Arizona tonight. Hawks and Cats. And, man, something happened over the weekend that really annoyed the crap out of me, that somehow, some way, not that I keep coming up with funky stuff like every single day, it's that, Sterling, you and I, I'm going to come away from tonight and be like, oh, the Jayhawks won? Good. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No. Seriously. That's what happened. That's what took place over the weekend that annoyed the crap out of me so bad that I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with it. Now, I'm not saying they're winning the national championship. I'm just talking about specifically tonight in a game that they're probably going to win anyway. Let's be honest. So it's kind of like, hedging your bet to a degree.
How dare you?
But I'll explain, which won't help those that will come after me on Twitter from the Mizzou side that I'm well aware of.
It's me.
And prepared
Kansas
for.
football fan?
Oh,
no,
yeah, that's
basketball
right.
fan.
That's no.
You guys are just together now.
I said I'd be. I said I'd be.
Welcome
fine
to
with
the
it.
family.
I hate you. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy heading up until 2 o'clock. Coming up less than an hour from now, we got Learn Funniest Best from the weekend. What we learned, what the funniest was, and what the best was from La Weekend. We will talk about that coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. We've talked, obviously, a lot about the Super Bowl last night. We've talked about how it relates to the Kansas City Chiefs. Off-season officially getting underway for the rest of the NFL. The Chiefs have been in off-season mode for a while. I know when it comes to the draft and free agency, Brett Veach and his team have been working on this for a while as well. So we've talked a lot about those things. Kansas and Arizona tonight on Big Monday. KU at home on Big Monday. Essentially a top 10 team. What have they won? 8 games in a row?
They've been hot. We were talking about how they needed to go
7 in a row.
Yeah.
They've won 7 in a row. Number 11 in the country, at home, Big Monday, and they're underdogs. Because Arizona's undefeated. Because Arizona is 24-0, and the number 23-0, and the number 1 team in the land. Now, I mentioned when we went to break, okay? And I know I'm going to hear it, but that's okay. I'm going to be honest. What happened over the weekend got me to the point that I was like, you know what? Bleep you. If KU wins, fine, good. Brett Yormark had his comments about he wants to make the Big 12 tournament more, what he'd say, destinational, or something along, have it more celebrity-orial. He was using these odd words, as he typically does, but wants to add some things to the Big 12 tournament. He wants to make it more of this is going to be an entertaining thing for the fans outside of just basketball. Right. Okay. That's fine. So that tweet went out there. And so I click on that tweet and I'm just, to see the whole thing and to listen to it, right? You click on the tweet to listen to what he said. And the first response I saw, until he takes the Big 12 tournament out of Kansas City, I really don't care what he says. I'm like, bleep you. So then I looked at the next one. And the amount of replies of, move it to Vegas. Who the hell wants to go to Kansas City? Bleep the Big 12 tournament as long as it's in Kansas City. I don't care. It's in Vegas. Nobody wants to go to a cow town in Kansas City. And let me tell you, 90% of those Arizona Wildcat fans.
And 10% were Utah. Utah fans are
but
absolutely brutal.
I thought it was all going to be Utah fans. I really did.
They're
because
brutal,
they're
man.
the ones that have complained and bitched the most about the Big 12 tournament being
and they're
in
bad
Kansas
at
City.
all sports. What are we doing here, Utah?
There was a couple TCU fans.
Kick him out, Doug.
Yeah, as if
Kick him off the tour.
Yes. She wore a crown and she came down in a bubble, Doug. A couple of TCU fans that also said that, like, nobody cares about you. Oh, cool. We came back against Kansas and Kansas State. Cool. Go away. More people attend one Big 12 tournament in Kansas City than the history of any time it's in Dallas. Sit this one out, buddy.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about 90% Arizona Wildcat fans. Bleep Kansas. Until I'm waiting to go to the Big 12 tournament until it's out of Kansas City. Like, you know what? Here's the thing. You can go to the conference tournament with Oregon State and Washington State.
There
for
you
all
go.
I care.
Correct.
Enjoy that tournament. Is that in Vegas? I don't care. How about this? Go join a conference where the conference tournament is in Vegas and enjoy yourself there. Lute Olson wannabes. All right? Go there. Simon says get the hell out.
Also, Vegas is the most overrated city in the history of the world.
Well, Nashville. But Vegas is certainly
I have way more fun in Nashville than Vegas. Why would I do that? I have FanDuel on my phone. Why do I need to go to Vegas?
Oh, yeah, that's right. You can't.
I have FanDuel on my phone. I don't need to go to Vegas. I don't need to pay $38 for a watered-down cocktail.
But $38 for the hotel room, so that's fine.
What
too.
am I? But it has a $60 resort fee you got to pay too.
Well, that's Nashville too.
I
it's-
will never-
They're building a stadium based on you, you and your friends going to Nashville to sell. To
I
hang out
will
and
never.
party.
Memphis is better. I will never understand Beale Street only.
You survive.
I will. Well, yeah.
Yeah, but you're not even
I
walking
don't
on Beale Street.
get
You're 10 feet off the
Vegas.
air. 10 feet
I
off
will
the-
never. I will not. I will not get Vegas. I don't get the appeal. I don't understand it. Now that betting's legalized, why would I ever go to Vegas? Well, I mean, people say food, so overpriced. Every city has food. San Francisco had great food. Kansas City has great food.
Why would I go to Nashville to pay $25 just to walk into a bar? Then I go to the bar next to it and it's another $25 just to walk in. Why would I go there? I'm just saying, like, they're in the running for each other.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
they're both just.
Yeah, and Nashville hosts Nashville. It's I believe it's the SEC tournament is in Nashville.
Vegas
this year,
is
which
like-
is fine, but you know that's sort of where it is, and it's fun. By the way, we talk about Nashville, but Nashville for the SEC tournament is a freaking blast. It is so fun. Broadway packed with SEC fans everywhere. It's cool. It becomes that destination. The arena is packed as well. It's fun. Now, a lot of those are Kentucky fans, but I think this year with the way Vandy's playing, there's going to be a ton of Vandy fans that'll be there too. It's a fun destination place. And for Iowa State, and then, the people like, oh, only people that care about it being there are KU fans. Well, now I know how dumb you are and new to the conference you are, because if you don't mention Iowa State, you're an idiot.
I'm a KU Jayhawk fan now.
Nope. That was football, though, I think.
Nope.
So I cut it out, so it's just a fan.
Oh, I like that.
I'm a KU Jayhawk fan now.
Yeah, you can't even tell. You can't even tell that that's been doctored at all.
I'm a KU Jayhawk fan now.
I'm a KU Jayhawk fan now. It's kind of like the Weekend Update with Colin Jost and Michael Che with the commercial last night of Totally Live with the in Pasadena Super Bowl. But it was like, you know what? Bleep you. So many of the Wildcat fans so many of the people that were complaining were Wildcat fans, just bitching and moaning constantly. The Big 12 and Kansas, I'll never go there. Then go away. We let you in the conference. And you're bitching about where the conference tournament is. You could be playing in the Mountain West Conference tournament. I guess beggars can be choosers, apparently. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, you know what? If KU wins on Monday night, for the overall good of the Big 8, Big 12, bleep you, Arizona. Because there's a little bit of the, am I a KU Jayhawk fan? No.
I'm a KU Jayhawk fan now.
Not like Sterling.
I'm
no.
not. Don't you ever
But
do that.
if you come into the Big 12, don't come in and bitch about what the traditions of the Big 12 are. You were offered a lifeline and you're complaining about the food on the boat. You were floating out there in the middle of nowhere. The boat came by, helped you up, and then you're like, I ordered medium rare. This is like medium. Sorry, but this bed is a little lumpy, and this isn't really the pillow that I'm used to. I'm used to more fun boats. You were on a life raft sinking. The Big Ten didn't want you.
They weren't desirable, really, at the time. They weren't good at
No.
basketball. Football, meh.
Utah, you weren't wanted. Arizona, you weren't wanted. Arizona State, you weren't wanted. The Big Ten didn't want you. So you joined the Big 12. Certainly the Big 12 can benefit from that.
It was mutually beneficial,
Yes,
but still.
I don't debate that, but you get into the Big 12 and all you're doing is bitching about the Big 12, one of the Big 12 tournament traditions. And to say, well, no, take it to Vegas. Why? So it can be stale and like anything else? Well, it's closer to us. Too bad. If you wanted it closer to you, you would have tried harder and kept the Big Ten together. It didn't work. The Big Ten broke apart because USC, UCLA, and Washington and Oregon were like,
Pac-12.
Pac-12. We don't care about being in the conference with you. You aren't good enough for us to stay around for. We're going to go travel all this way to where Mick Cronin is going to bitch about the travel and how far they got to go.
It's just hilarious, man. College sports is in such a funny situation where everything's so spread out. It's no longer. I mean, the Big Ten goes from California to Jersey.
I'm tired of the teams that just entered the Big 12 talking crap on the on Kansas City and the Big 12 tournament and taking shots because what? Utah's more desirable? No, they should put it in Vegas. Shut up.
It would be if Missouri came in to the SEC and was like, "No, we're doing it this now.
100%.
This is how we want it done."
It should be in St. Louis every year.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go to Atlanta. What a crappy city to go to. Nobody wants to go to Atlanta. But also, Nashville is pretty badass.
I don't
for the SEC tournament. Other than that, not really. But for the SEC tournament, really cool.
I don't understand, to an extent, Brett Yormark wanting to more desirable, more things. No, if you're a fan, you're going to go watch your team play. That's what you're going to. You're not getting random people off the street. No one in Vegas is going to go, yeah, I'm going to go watch Utah play Baylor tonight.
Yeah.
No one's doing that.
Well, that's the thing about having it down in Dallas. There were like tens of people in the arena.
And Kansas City, you know what? Yeah, I think people might do that. You know why? Because we love college basketball here. It's been here. This is a thing.
Yeah.
This is a.
The arena's fun. The games are fun. Iowa State comes down and packs the place.
It's amazing.
Right? It's
P&L's
awesome.
fun. I don't.
I joked about, my son played a couple of weekends ago at Hy-Vee Arena, and I'm like, the last time I was here, pretty sure it was like a Big 8 game between Missouri and Kansas in the Big 8 tournament. I think it was the last time I was at Kemper, now Hy-Vee Arena. And now the way that it's set up, I'm like, I remember walking up with the Missouri and KU tickets in hand. Wasn't a great day that day at the end, but the walk up,
I'm a KU Jayhawk fan now.
Sterling was pumped for that game. You weren't alive, but that's fine.
I don't understand the
You might have been alive barely. I don't know.
gamification or the.
Gamification. I'm like, wow.
Well, no, like the Royals. We have to have this district. Your mark. We have to have more things. More. Can we just have the game?
We want to make it more corporate, and they want to make
Can we
it.
watch sports? Can we?
Yeah.
You want to make us spend more money and people spend more money and price on all the fans so you can have more corporate people go? Nice.
Well, and take the game day experience down. I think that's the bigger overall point, is that Vegas doesn't need more stuff. Kansas City, like, it is an institution. The Big 12 tournament is something that people get excited for. You mentioned Iowa State fans traveling. A lot of fan bases travel to Kansas City. It is it's becoming a destination city, and you see that with the World Cup coming here in 2026, that different events are coming to this city because they're a good host. And I just don't get it.
Yep. And it's look, I know it ain't moving because they signed the contract until 2031 to stay at T-Mobile. And so too bad to those complaining crybabies. But it's just still annoying to see how many of the Wildcat fans, Arizona fans that are there that were just filled in the replies about who cares about it being in Kansas City. And I'm like, you know what? They're heading to Kansas on Monday night. It's not a Final Four game or national championship game, whatever. KU beats Arizona. Good, go back home. You don't want to be here anyway, remember? You don't want to be around here anyway, so go home. Go away. And if you need to go away to a different conference, go away. That's fine. Apparently beggars can be choosers. We need to play with the latest we're in the Big 12. But why don't you do what we want to do? Because we don't care. You can go away. Big 12's fine.
I'm a KU Jayhawk fan now.
All right, wrapping this out. We got Learn Funniest Best coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. We'll also get into the actual game with KU and Arizona. Big Monday coming up tonight right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. 1.5-point dogs. The Kansas Jayhawks are at home at Allen Fieldhouse. Look, Arizona is a damn fine team. And the latest a Big 12 team has gone undefeated into the season is Arizona. So congrats on that. But we'll talk about that game. I also want to get into the conversation around Drake May, specifically coming from Boston compared to the last couple year conversation. We'll talk about that as well. All right, hanging out on this Monday edition of the show, post Super Bowl Monday edition. Next year, you know what you'll be doing the day after the Super Bowl?
Celebrating the Chiefs win.
Planning a parade.
That's one. Those are a couple things we'll be doing the day after the Super Bowl next year. You know what the government and schools will be doing?
I don't know.
They'll be off because next year, the Monday after the Super Bowl is President's Day. So next year is the Super Bowl Sunday and then national holiday. So there you go. That's what I'm saying. That's what they'll be doing. We'll be working, you know.
Yeah, I would say that doesn't affect me.
Doesn't affect us at all. But it's what people are like, oh, man, if you can just move the season back to where and the way that it matches up next year with February. By the way, the Super Bowl's on Valentine's Day, too. Next Super Bowl 61 is going to be for the lovers.
I would love if the Chiefs are in it.
Man, if only it was 8 years later.
A lifetime?
Nope, because Super Bowl 61 is next year on Valentine's Day.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yep.
uh-huh.
But the day after is President's Day next year. So, but Valentine's Day next year for the Super Bowl. Let's hear from Brett Yormark. This is the comments that we were talking about from the Big 12. This is an announcement that's going to be made tomorrow. Don't know what the announcement is. But here's Brett Yormark using a couple of words that we need to put in our vocabulary more often in talking about what's going to happen with the Big 12 tournament, which has a contract through 2031 here in Kansas City. But here's Brett Yormark over the weekend in his comments that he made on the Big 12 network, ESPN Plus, at halftime of a game, talking about the future.
We are going to be making some major announcements soon on some big-time enhancements, which, listen, I'm a first mover, and our conference is a first mover. That's how we position ourselves. And we're going to be doing some things that have never been done in the collegiate space, and I think the first announcement is going to be next Tuesday. So be on the lookout for that. And then we're going to integrate some big-time musical talent, which is also going to be great. And listen, from day one, it's all been about how do we continue to celebritize our tournament? How do we make it destinational for fans? How do we give student-athletes just the best type of experience possible? And I thought we did it well last year, but we're going to keep building on it. And this year's going to be incredible. And again, the fans are going to be in store for some amazing moments. There's a lot of things I can't discuss tonight, but over the course of the next
That's a tough tease.
It is. But over the course of the next couple of weeks, we'll start dripping it out there, and it's going to be amazing.
So the first announcement will be tomorrow. No clue what he's talking about, but he wants to celebritize and destinational the Big 12 tournament for the fans. Make it destinational and celebritize the Big 12 tournament.
And music. He said music. So somehow I think he's getting both Bad Bunny and Kid Rock. I think he's getting both.
What if he did?
He did
yes,
both.
That would be so smart.
And put him in Hawaii. Make it a destination.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that would be good. Put it in. There was a lot of flags last night, so put them in any of those and territories and stuff like that. And Jake Paul had some thoughts on it too. Like everybody, why don't we talk more about LeBron versus Jordan? If Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame, and if you watch Bad Buddy's halftime show, should we weigh in on some of those things? That's cool. I did. I thought it was awesome. It was one of the best produced, choreographed, and productions that we've seen from halftime show. It was pretty awesome. But Brett Yormark, in the major announcement that's going to be happening starting tomorrow, don't know what it is, to celebritize or make it more destinational. Again, the contract is through 2031 here at T-Mobile in Kansas City. The Sirius XM Big 12 radio, they had commentary on it that said they have been told what it is, and they aren't obviously allowed to say what it is, but the host said it's a, quote, game changer. And it's not a, hey, wait 7 to 10 months or a year down the road. He's like, it's a quick turnaround, and it's a game changer, and I wish I could say what it is, but it's massive, and people are going to be immediately talking about it. And the only way I can describe it is game changer. If it wasn't that big of a deal, he said, I wouldn't really care. I wouldn't really say anything. I would just say, oh, he's going to make an announcement. He
What
goes,
could it possibly
I don't know.
be? I mean, even
the Big 12 tournament's moving to the beginning of the season.
Well, like even if it moved,
But he said it's going to happen. It's a quick turnaround.
But like even if it moved cities, it wouldn't be like this crazy talking point from the every. Like,
right, it wouldn't be a quick turnaround because it wouldn't be in Vegas in a month.
Yeah,
It's in Kansas City.
I'm befuddled by what it could possibly be. Is
because it's 6 more years in KC.
they said musicians, so will they have?
Celebritise.
I'm thinking more like NIL. Maybe there's like $1 million prize, kind of like the Players Era tournament.
Now
interesting.
Darcy, that's the best idea.
interesting.
Darcy, yes, good idea.
Take some of the revenue that they're getting
all
from
there.
that and specifically give it to basketball teams that advance further in the Big 12
Yeah, that's
tournament.
smart.
So you're saying, because look, there are coaches out there that look at the conference tournaments as like, no, this is just getting in the way of us getting ready for the NCAA tournament. There is no tournament or games that we play back to back to back like this. John Calipari hates conference tournaments until your team is struggling and you need it to sort of get on track. But if your team is playing well, it's like, let's get the hell out of here. We don't need to go down there, get somebody injured. We're a 1 seed, 2 seed, whatever. Let's go down there. If we win it, we win it. If not, let's go, because our real goal is a month from now. But if you do what the Players Era tournament did in Vegas, and I don't know how you would do that because the presidents would all have to agree to this. If you can't just simply unilaterally say, oh, we're going to take some of this TV network deal and just give it to teams that finish first or second in the Big 12 tournament or play, on Friday night or Saturday, whenever. But that's interesting. Could be that route of some sort of NIL deal tied into it. Because what would a, quote, game changer announcement be? And beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Could be a game changer from that person's perspective.
Yellow Card's going to play the opening.
Oh, they'll give out yellow cards in games, and if you get 2 of them, then you're kicked out of that game.
We're going to call traveling now.
No, stop.
Yeah, that's
Get out of here.
That's silly. They're not going to do that.
We're not going to have 7 versus 5. Anybody that plays KU.
I knew that was
Excuse
coming.
me, 8 versus 5. Sorry. Well, I'm just saying, like that.
I'm a KU Jayhawk fan now.
But Michael, wouldn't that be a game changer though?
If they had to start doing that, it would be a game changer.
We now have to call fouls straight up. We are not allowed to just favor one team over the other.
Wait.
It's about time.
Wait, Keon Dooling, we can't call it a charge anymore?
We do have to call traveling on Svi.
That was a travel and a half.
What are you talking about? It took 2 steps. Multiple times. But I mean, if you break that up into segments,
It's an NBA gather step.
If you just say gather step, I think now that's
that's
the
so true.
gather step and step through.
It's a he gathered at half court.
He was just ahead of his time.
That's true. Kyle said the other day, last week or the week before, he was like, it was crazy after that game. He's like, I was walking to class, and there was Svi walking to class too. And Sprint said something like, oh, did he travel? He goes, no, he only took 2 steps to class. It was only 2 steps. That was a really good line, Kyle.
That's great.
Really, really good line.
Strong.
Strong to quite strong, some would say, for that particular line. Kansas 8-2, Arizona 10-0, Houston 9-1, Iowa State 8-2 in the conference. You win tonight, number 1 seed in the Big 12 tournament is out there in a possibility again.
Yeah.
When it was like, where are they going to be seeded in the tournament? Do they have a chance to win the Big 12? And it was like, well, you fall behind, you lose the first couple of games. And you got undefeated teams. You still got Houston. You got Iowa State. Like, that's going to be pretty rough.
Tech
for you
on the road.
Yes.
The fact they've done it
They
at
took
Tech,
care of Iowa State already, so they've got that tiebreaker currently.
beating BYU at home and then beating Tech at Tech,
Yeah.
and doing it in multiple different ways.
Mm-hmm.
One was a defensive grind against Tech, and one was, to an extent, an offensive explosion against BYU. That you controlled that game versus BYU too, by the way. That was second half, no Darren Peterson. I've been impressed with the fact that Kansas, for the lack of, to an extent, depth, they play about 7 guys, realistically, about 7 guys. I was concerned about foul trouble for Flory, or to an extent, Bryson Tiller. I was concerned that if an injury were to take place, how would they look? It hasn't mattered. I don't know if they're going to be tired once Big 12 or the tournament comes around with the amount of minutes these guys have played with a shorter bench. But if they stay healthy and out of foul trouble, this Kansas team is a Elite Eight team for sure, and they're trending the right way. They can do it so many different ways. Melvin Council starting to hit threes. Trey White, my thoughts, just such an all-around great player. Bryson Tiller starting to come into his own. That was the BYU game. Was really the coming out party for him. Darren Peterson, we know, best scorer we've seen since, I don't know, like Melo, since KD. They're a good team, complete team, and we did not think that early in the year when we thought, okay, this Kansas team looks more like a 6 seed than a potential 2 seed.
Well, and Kansas is out of the top 3 teams when we talk about Arizona, Houston, Iowa State, and Kansas. Of those 3 teams, Kansas is the only, or 4 teams, Kansas is the only one that plays 2 of the other 3 twice. Houston plays the other 3 only once, by the way. Houston plays once against Arizona, once against Iowa State, and once against Kansas. It's a pretty decent break in the schedule. Arizona plays Kansas twice, and that's it. And then Iowa State and Houston once. Iowa State plays Kansas twice, and then Arizona and Houston once. So those other teams have a little bit of an easier schedule from that standpoint, where Kansas plays Arizona and Iowa State twice. So they play 5 games against those 3 teams, where Houston plays 3 games against those other 3 teams.
AP poll just released. Kansas has moved up to 9th.
Top 10 matchup
it'll be
tonight.
a top 10 matchup.
What's Arizona, 0? Have they moved?
0. Yeah, they're actually they're
Wow. Everybody moved up one
Too
spot.
healthy.
Crazy. Too highly ranked.
KU has never beat the number 1 team in the nation in Allen Fieldhouse. I don't know if it's usually they are 1, or at least in the top 10.
Say, how many number 1 teams have they played at Allen Fieldhouse?
I couldn't tell
in
you.
their,
They've
in
never
their history.
beaten one, so that would probably mean that they haven't played that many, if
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. Well, isn't Bill Self undefeated on Big 12 or a Big Monday
Yeah,
at
I
home?
think it's 38-0.
Yeah. Big Monday games at home. Bill Self undefeated. Undefeated. Never lost. But not beating number 1 teams. And now a top 10 matchup, moving from number 11 to number 9 for KU. So there you go. Missouri ranked, where they come in at? 19?
Not quite ranked
15?
yet.
They number 10? Number 8. Number 8 makes sense. Yeah,
Didn't receive any votes.
What? They've gone 2-0 in the last 2 games.
I'm shocked.
You know how difficult it is
This
to
is
beat
my
Mississippi
shocked
State
face.
and South Carolina? You know how difficult that back-to-back game is? That's a gauntlet.
I think Miami of Ohio could do that.
Where would Mizzou rank in the Big 12?
First.
Okay.
Being first or last. No, that's a good question.
Because obviously they're better than Utah,
Obviously.
K-State.
Yeah, of course.
Are they West Virginia?
Oh, they're better
No,
than
they're
that.
better than West Virginia.
Yeah.
They probably fit in right after Texas Tech.
Yeah,
I'd
I
say
think
that
so too.
UCF, West Virginia, BYU, I think is better than what they've been.
Agreed. They've lost 4
lately.
straight games.
UCF's been really good this year.
Yeah, whatever.
Maybe UCF would be the.
You and Johnny Dawkins can go out and enjoy.
I'm a
some
KU
good
Jayhawk
stuff.
fan
Nope.
now.
Yeah, they just lost by 20 points to Cincinnati.
Yeah, I don't think Mizzou's doing that.
Yeah, and Cincinnati just had their coach go and apologize to the fans because of how bad it is. It's not good enough, and I care deeply. I know you guys care, but I care deeply. They just had that coach go and apologize. Then they beat UCF by 20. So
They were playing with togetherness and love.
Well, I mean, they were, at least. He apologized to the fans because it wasn't good enough. The other one said that he's proud of the players and
Proud of his guys.
proud of his guys, the way that they're out there.
The way they collapsed, I mean, you have to be proud of how K-State collapsed.
10-point lead, 5 minutes to go.
Anytime you can.
Now,
collapse
KU
one.
collapsed at home, so, K-State does have that on KU this year. Their collapse against TCU wasn't as bad as KU's collapse against TCU. So, Jerome Tang still has something on KU this year. So he's got that going for him. Like, see, I beat KU in something. We're better than KU at something.
The
They're
transitive
better at losing.
property.
Yeah, but no, we're talking about Mike. We're talking about the collapses to TCU.
But you were saying Tang is better at KU than something, and he's better at losing.
that is true. Yeah,
He'll be better at being unemployed than Bill Self.
I don't know. That's true. Getting $18 million to not coach that's being
You're winning.
really. That's,
That is one thing he's winning at.
that's really good at being unemployed.
That's a good
God.
big brain Tang.
I would, man. That's a freaking winner right there, man. You get $18 million to not work. That's a great gig. Great gig. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Learned funniest best. I learned that Mick Schaefer isn't here today. This morning, that he wasn't going to be in.
Of course, the weather's nice. I have the flu. Oh, when it's golf.
HIPAA. I mean, I'm not saying what he has. I'm not saying what he has. I don't know. I'm not violating anything.
Okay.
I'm not getting sued.
I don't know what he has.
I'm not getting sued.
Allegedly, he's sick.
I'm not getting sued. I don't even know that's the case.
I have golden tee hand.
He's got the video game thumb. He's got tennis elbow.
Oh, wow.
Only golf elbow.
The day after the Super Bowl.
Oh
no, I can't come in today. It's
Super Bowl
70
cough.
degrees outside and the golf courses are open. Oh no, can't go in today.
That Super Bowl cough. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Learn funniest best next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Michael Darcy. We got Learn Funniest Best here on this Monday without Mick Schaefer. What we learned from the weekend, funniest from the weekend, best from the weekend. I've got like so many different learns. But
We can do 2 because Mick's gone.
oh, can I still mix learned?
Yeah, I'm going to all do 2.
Okay, cool. So what I learned is that I didn't know this. So the Zombieland celebration, where guys put their hands over their face and do like that wave thing, arm stretched out wave thing. Apparently, the Zombieland celebration originated at WKU, Western Kentucky, in 2022.
Yeah, it means like you stink or something like that.
No, it's like they're acting like they're just acting like a zombie.
I just learned that was Zombieland. I had
that's
no idea.
I found this out over the weekend because some Seahawks were doing it and they were talking about it, and so they went and found the origin, and it was in 2022 in practice. And then Cam Ward made it more famous because the offensive coordinator for WKU, when the players started doing that, he took over at Washington State when Cam Ward was there, and Cam Ward was watching highlights of the offense with the former OC and saw the guys doing the dance. So he started doing it, and then it became more and more popular. Now everybody in the NFL is doing it. Essentially, it's you put your hand over your face or whatever, and then you act like you're a zombie, just walking or whatever. The zombies sort of walk with their hands straight ahead. I don't know, but that's what it's called. That was the celebration. It started, my wife was pretty proud of that. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Hilltoppers in the house. So 2022, it's been around for like 3 years, and it just now got crazy. Patrick Mahomes called it the Chiefs wave. He's like, oh, I did the Chiefs wave after that. I'm like, I don't think we can quite take credit for that one there, Patrick. But, I appreciate the effort in you doing that. But yeah, apparently it's been going on for about 3 years. So I like these celebrations that make it to the NFL that originate organically in college, like the Gritty originated because Jamar Chase's best friend invented the dance. And Jamar Chase at LSU started doing it, and Justin Jefferson saw it, so Justin Jefferson started doing it. So Justin Jefferson did it in the NFL, and now everybody's doing it. But it was Jamar Chase's best friend. Just invented the Gritty, and then people started doing it everywhere. This is dudes at WKU were like, what if we did this? And now everybody's doing it. That's one of my learns. Sterling, what's your learned?
I have 2 learns.
Yeah. I'm going to come back around and do another. I'm going to jump in when it's Mick's turn.
I'll do 2 quick ones. Doug Flutie has a band. Doug Flutie is in a band. Guess what he plays?
Drums.
Oh, yeah, he does play the drums.
I hope he plays the flute.
No.
That was the joke. I thought...
I'm going to mark myself.
Yeah. He does play drums, actually. Doug Flutie plays the drums in a band.
When he would go to... I
didn't know this.
I've got inside information.
I thought it was maybe clarinet or something.
No. When he would play in the American Century Championship, the celebrity karaoke, he would get up there and play drums during
fun.
celebrity karaoke when Doug Flutie would play in the tournament. He hasn't played the last couple of years, though.
So
that's how I knew.
I learned that about Doug Flutie.
Yeah.
He liked talking about it because I also drum too, so it was fun. We talked drums for a while. And then my other one was
Nice.
Deion Dawkins. I was talking with him, the left tackle for the Bills. If you watch Hard Knocks, he likes to drift in cars.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He likes to do that. And so I said, Deion, I know your big ass is not fitting in a normal-sized NASCAR. And he starts cracking up and goes, no, you're totally right. I actually am sitting in the back seat. He took the front seat out.
Makes sense.
So that's why he fit, because the front seat's basically gone.
Yeah.
So when you see him drifting that, he's basically sitting in the back seat.
Makes total sense.
Doing that. And he told me, hey, if you're in Buffalo, hit me up. I'll take you drifting.
Wow. Are
And
you going to go to Buffalo this year?
I don't
Follow
know.
the Chiefs?
Apparently I need to.
Yeah.
And he was serious. He goes, PR person, like, get in touch. And
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I guess
You
I
should
might,
text them today, see if they would have put on a better show than the Patriots.
I might go. That was good.
That's all I think of with Deion Dawkins when I think of him now.
So I learned that he drifts in that car. It's he's
Nice.
actually sitting in the back seat.
That's nice. What'd you learn, Michael?
I learned the Royals don't care about their fans. They are doing Dollar Dog Night on the first Tuesday of every month instead of every Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
Or it used to be every Friday, but they got rid of that, and now it's just $1
So
hot
Buck
dogs on
Night
the first
is
Tuesday.
First Tuesday.
Well, I don't know if it's Buck Night. It might just be hot dogs now.
That also might be part of it as
If
well.
it's just if it's called Dollar Dog Night, then it's taken away the Buck Night, which is
It went
a lot of
from
different
12 games to 6.
things. Oh, interesting.
So I can't go and eat 15 hot dogs on
I know,
any given
right?
night.
Yeah, that's too bad. And by the way, that doesn't count if you go on Buck Night and do the hot dog thing where you got 9 hot dogs and 9 innings and 9 beers, whatever. That doesn't count.
I know
That doesn't
Stu could
count.
take down some hot dogs.
Oh, I can crush some glizzies.
Yeah, because didn't Easton finish that? Didn't Easton do like the 9 hot dogs and 9 beers? But it's like, it was the Buck Night, a little different. So for Mick not being here, my learned was also that Bluey overtook Stranger Things as the most streamed show on Netflix. And let me tell you, the Anderson household came off the bench and played some strong minutes for Bluey to overtake Stranger Things. Let me tell you, we did our part in the Anderson household for that. So the most streamed TV show, Bluey, this past year. So biscuits is what Stranger Things is saying when they found that out. Do you have another learned, Michael, or you only got one? You don't want to take Nick's?
There was one that I found that some people take fantasy football punishments way too far.
What are you talking about?
I'm not a huge fantasy football guy, so I think anything like this would just be not worth my time. But there was somebody who ended up losing, and their punishment was that they had to fly to Mumbai, India to watch the Super Bowl in a hotel lobby at 5:30 in the morning as a fantasy football punishment.
Boy, they got a lot of money in that fantasy league.
I was going to say, that's
a lot of money in that fantasy
too much.
league.
And
No,
the
thank you.
photo from the lobby, it says, Mumbai for Super Bowl, I suck at fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, but you're clearly well off.
Yeah,
You have money just to fly to Mumbai for the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
By
that's
yourself,
wild.
by the way.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Funniest from the weekend, Sterling?
So I'm flying back, and this whole time, by the way, I'm pretty sure I feel like this flight attendant is hitting on me.
Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure that every time somebody talks to you, you think they're hitting on you. But go ahead. Proceed.
Pretty clear, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm trying to sleep a little bit.
Yeah.
I
you were.
get the flight attendant hands me a note, and at first I'm like,
Oh, here we go.
is this from the flight attendant? It says, to the handsome man in the boot. I'll show you it in the break. It's in my work bag. It says, the handsome man in the boot. This is so-and-so in seat so-and-so. Let's grab drinks sometime. Puts her number on it. Flight attendant points, I think, to this person sitting like next to me.
Like right next to you.
Like right next to me, like across the aisle.
That would be odd if you had to pass a note through the flight attendant to the person next to you.
Okay, I thought so too. But
Within arm's reach.
The whole time I thought this flight attendant was hitting me. It was wild last 30 minutes of the flight.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, sorry, but, I'm taken. Just sorry. And she's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, no, I got your note. She goes, what are you talking about? Her husband is sitting right next to her.
Oh my God.
no.
Oh my God. I got your note. Shut up. Shut up. That was a note. I told you that in confidence.
And I'm like,
God, you're supposed to.
and so I'm like,
check yes
you
or no.
didn't give me this note. I'm sorry, man. I thought that she gave me this note. Flight attendant to me. I have this note. Look at the note. It says, let's grab drinks sometime and all this stuff. There was not that person. It was not her husband. Ended up being very cool and was very that's hilarious. And so then the rest of the 20-minute flight, we tried to figure out who sent the note. We eventually figured out who it was.
Yeah.
So it was a very fun story. Hilarious half hour to your end of your flight trying to figure out who wrote a note. But now I have a note, and that made my day. To the handsome man wearing the boot.
So
Twas I, the handsome man.
So this was this.
wearing the
You
boot.
had a direct flight back, right?
Yes,
Okay. So this person was then landing in Kansas City.
correct. Yes.
Did you guys make eye contact or see each other at the baggage claim?
I think beforehand, I figured out who it was.
Okay.
Before I got on the plane, someone
did
came up to me and started a conversation.
But did she get after the? So you figured out who it was. So then at baggage claim, are you around her at all?
No, I didn't
Is she
didn't see her.
close to
No,
you? So
didn't see
she
her.
jetted. She was like, "Look, if he's going to call me, he's going to call me, but I don't need to make this
so
awkward."
I shot her a text and said, "Hey, I appreciate. Congratulations
Yeah.
on the confidence. That was really cool. Made me feel pretty good about it." That's something
Yeah.
you'll think about 30 years. See, guys, we don't get a lot of compliments. Right. As a guy, we don't get a ton of compliments. So when you get a compliment, you remember that for a while.
Sure.
So it felt pretty good.
Yeah. How about that?
Yeah.
You're supposed to write back on the note, though, like check yes or no.
You,
Like George Strait.
paper airplane and just send it back.
Well, the time I didn't know who it was, so I just like throw it in the middle of the air, like there.
Someone will come get it.
Someone find this.
So, how did you get? You got to explain the flight attendant pointing. So she pointed, and you thought it was somebody right across the aisle.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that you figured out who it was this person sitting close to you at all, like anywhere near you?
No, like
So
it's a
how
small
did you-
plane. It's a small plane, so like 10 rows up, but it
But
was
still, like-
there was only like 18 rows in the plane. It was a small plane.
So how could you?
Misinterpret?
How could you think that the point was right there?
I don't know.
When it was 10 rows away.
Well, the flight attendant messed up the lot.
I think the flight attendant gave
She definitely gave like the old the thumb point.
the thumb.
It's
It was a
over
thumb
there.
point.
Yeah, no.
It was a thumb point.
And Sterling just looked for the best-looking woman that's on the plane and went like, "It must be her." Look, hey, I appreciate it. You know, I see your husband that's clearly works out
Not
and is
interested.
fit. But I am a spoken for man. Thank you.
It
but
was
it's very nice.
a
I know.
very-
I understand that we would make some amazing children. But it's just not going to work out right now.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I appreciate them being cool and yeah, very.
And you
fun.
made friends.
The confusing look on her face was. You thought I was confused because then I'm like, what did I do wrong? I have this note from you.
I have this note from you. Like,
From
that ain't-
you.
That ain't from me. Her husband's like, that's your handwriting.
Yeah,
that is absolutely your handwriting.
That's
honey.
the
What are
M.
you
Night
talking about?
Shyamalan twist was the whole
Yes.
time it actually was.
What do you do with the husband?
That'd have been it's the husband. That's the M. Night Shyamalan twist.
I've been looking to spice up the bedroom.
Oh, there we go.
Let's see what this is. If Das Boot wants to
Break your
wants
other
to
foot.
join.
So that was the last 30 minutes of that flight.
Wow, that is
Well, you know how they turn the lights off a lot of times in the flight too.
Well,
it's
yeah,
kind of
that's-
dark in there. It's
depending on when you were flying. Were you flying at night? You had a direct flight, so it was probably a quicker flight than.
well,
for
we
you.
left at 1:30, but the time change obviously so you're like flying as it gets dark. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's how it works when you go from west to east. It's
kinda neat.
typically, around that time. Funniest for you, Mick? Michael?
I don't know how I'm going to top it, but Nick Eamon-Warry's mom doesn't really understand the hype behind the Super Bowl. I actually
right.
pulled up the audio right here.
Just what are you expecting to go over there to San Francisco to watch this game, to watch your son?
To be honest with you, I don't know. Everybody keep asking me, do you know what you are going for? I said, Super Bowl. They said, do you know how many people died to go to Super Bowl? I'm like, how? I don't know. I have opportunity to go there. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is something big that I don't know. It's big. I don't know what I'm expecting. All I'm going there is to shout, yay, Super Bowl, touchdown, we win. That's it. That's all I'm going to do.
It was.
And that's the audio.
It was. Look, it was very sweet. And I don't know how big it is. She's from Nigeria, by the way.
Okay,
So she
yeah.
flew over from Nigeria and was like, I don't know how big. Everybody's like, oh, it's a Super Bowl. I don't know. Just hey, touchdown, we win. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay, touchdown, we win. She knows about the touchdown, but I don't know. It's a big deal, is it?
She
I don't know.
mentioned
Find
the
out.
confetti.
Yeah. Yay.
Yay.
It's touchdown, we win. Yay.
And she was right. She was right.
They did. That's exactly right. Oh, man, that was pretty good. My funniest, well, I mean, I don't really have that much of a funniest. There were some Super Bowl commercials that might have been.
No one called you handsome on a plane ride home.
Yeah, that was funny that I got no compliments. Although Easton, he was just killing it on the plane ride home. I'm joking, Easton's girlfriend. I do find it funny, and this is in a real, actual take type funny thing. I do find it funny, maybe not the funniest from the weekend, the discourse from Boston fans around Drake May. If Mahomes is injured, it's immediate. He just can't ever have a bad game. He's got to be injured. Never his fault. After the game, clearly Drake May is injured. I've never seen him play that bad before. Drake May is injured. And then after the last couple of years, Patriots fans talking about how bad Patrick Mahomes was in the Super Bowl, spending last night saying, if your team isn't there, you can't talk. Don't tell me anything about Drake May because your team wasn't actually playing in the Super Bowl. Do you understand what man in the arena is? At least he's there. Your team isn't there. Shut up. Find that just funny. I'm starting to think fans are hypocritical.
I'm glad that the other fan bases are going, oh, I forgot. No, we do like the we do dislike the Patriots more than the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah. We rooted for this. We rooted for the Chiefs' downfall, but we're sorry.
Yeah.
We apologize. We still dislike the Patriots more.
One of my other funniest was Tony Dungy and Rodney Harrison and Collinsworth's son, that they were doing a live hit from what looked like a prison yard. I'm not sure what was going on behind them. They were either in like some sort of a sewer maintenance area or prison yard. But Tony Dungy talking about the Hall of Fame, and he's saying, I'm not going to release what my vote was. I'm not going to make public what my vote was. Bill Belichick deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, but it's not the voters' fault. And right after he got done talking, Rodney Harrison looked at him and said, yeah, well, you guys got it wrong. Right, to Tony Dungy. Yeah. It's like, I'm not going to release who I voted for, but it's not the fault of the voters that Bill Belichick's not in the Hall of Fame. Which, by the way, baseball writers, here's who I voted for.
Yeah.
Football, no way. I'm not telling you who I voted for. No way. This is like my vote for president. I will never tell you who I'm voting for. No way. That is sacrosanct. Never in my life. I'll tell you a lot of other personal things that are going on in my life.
Belichick's not going to be president either.
Yeah, let me tell you about what's going on with my wife and I. Whoa. Who I voted for Hall of Fame? Never. Trying to tell you about what's going on in the bedroom, and you're asking me all these personal questions.
Dave Chappelle, right?
Thank you. Yes, that's exactly right. That was one of the funniest from the weekend was Rodney Harrison just looking at Tony Dungy and going, yeah, well, you guys got it wrong.
Yeah, correct.
Right to the face, which is totally fine. In the face. The best for you from the weekend, Michael Darcy.
I absolutely, and it really sucks that the Chiefs did not win the Super Bowl this year, but I always love looking at the Sports Illustrated covers, and the one that came out from last night, the picture of Witherspoon hitting the ball out of Drake May's hands. It is amazing. I love, and I don't know if they still print Sports Illustrated copies because there was a whole thing with them getting bought or sold or something happened along those lines. But I love the championship covers of Sports Illustrated.
Yeah, I don't know that I have like a best from the weekend. I have a really worst, but we're not doing the worst. I'm going to use another learned for my best. I learned how quickly social media and different interviews, you can go from someone who is very rooted for and is a fan favorite to becoming one of the more unlikable players out there, and that's Puka Nacua. With even last night with the laughing emojis and Sam Darnold. And then you got Seahawks players that are like, yeah, that's a Sam Darnold that whipped your ass already. Yeah, Sam Darnold put, however many, 4 touchdowns on you guys just a couple of weeks ago, Puka. Like, he's become like a really unlikable player the last month or so with some of his commentaries. Like, he was a guy that everybody was like, oh, what a great story. This is amazing. Oh, you got to root for this guy. And it's like, then you start to actually hear him talk, and like, maybe just don't.
Well, wide receivers, they have to.
It's true.
They have to.
That is coming through.
Wide receivers do that. Tight ends are like, let's party.
But
quarterbacks like coach speak.
I'm not a Devontae Adams fan, especially with the Raiders thing and here in Kansas City, the shove. But he came out and was really apologetic about it and was sorry. And he seems like the guy who's his teammate. It's like we hear diva wide receivers all the time, but there are plenty that aren't. But I just. From somebody that we never really heard talk to like spending the last month, like, well, can you do any more to sort of drop your star a little more, Puka? Best for you. Again, I don't have a best. I've got a.
I think it was just San Francisco for me. I think going there for the first time, seeing the Golden Gate Bridge, the ocean, all of that was just beautiful. I tried Cioppino for the first time, which is a San Francisco, I think, favorite thing. We went to the.
I was trying to find a spot because Kevin Timmons had suggested that
to
us.
Yeah, we had that on the wharf of Scarmos or Scormos or. It was absolutely incredible. I tried all these different seafoods I've never tried before, so that was kind of cool. Went out in Chinatown. There was the Chinese New Year, which I found myself in. So found myself, of course, just in the middle of Chinatown during Chinese New Year, drinking the worst Chinese whiskey I've had in my entire life.
Have you had much Chinese whiskey? in your
No,
life?
but
Okay.
it was probably the worst whiskey I've had in my
didn't know if you were a
entire life.
connoisseur of Chinese whiskey.
Drank a beer out of a Buddha bottle, which was kind of fun. Played a
okay.
dice game in Chinatown. So
Oh, you had a blast.
yeah,
dude.
I
You really got
found
cultured
myself.
over the
yeah,
weekend.
I was learning things. Yeah.
Look at you. You know what? I changed that. I had a best from the weekend because I'm going to count this. This was on Friday. Technically, the show is still going on, so it wouldn't count. But this was one of the things that took place on Radio Row. But this is kind of my best from the weekend.
They should have done that 30 years ago.
Agreed.
I would have hit 300 home runs.
Bo Jackson, if they brought the fences in.
Yeah.
I said they brought the fences in and they lowered them to 8.5 feet. Should have done it 30 years ago. Shucks.
I would have hit 300 home runs.
Yeah, instead of the 141 that he hit, or however many that he hit at Kaufman.
Yeah.
Not enough at Kaufman. So that could be my best of just
I like
getting
that.
to interview Bo Jackson. Yeah. My
Bo knows.
generation's, he does. My generation's Babe Ruth is what I told him. Because I think it is. I'm telling stories to my kids about what it was like to watch Bo Jackson, and everybody in my, grandpa and this, Babe Ruth. Oh, we'll never see somebody like Babe Ruth. You don't know what it was like to watch Babe Ruth. I don't know. I think I'm watching better athletes now.
Shohei's probably the next one.
Yeah.
I think it'd be Shohei.
Shohei to my kids, like the next generation watching Shohei
it would
growing
be
up.
Shohei.
In 20, 30 years, like, no, you didn't see Shohei play. You didn't see that in real time.
Yeah.
No, that's different. But to me,
I think Bo Jackson,
it was Bo. It's like, no, if you didn't see it, you don't understand what it meant at the time and what it could have been. And I theorized, too, with the Super Bowl after we talked with Bo, and I'm like, I think you can make a pretty strong case that his injury has elevated the legend. Because if he continued to play and play and play, we'd see these other great feats.
Sure.
But the complete and total unknown of he might have hit 400 home runs.
It could even be a
and
boat.
might have rushed for 10,000. It could have been a boat. Who knows? Could have rushed for 10,000 yards, 15,000 yards, hit 400 home runs. Who knows? All these different feats that he could have done. Maybe he's in 2 different halls of fame with MLB and NFL. Who knows? He was such an amazing athlete, but we don't know. So it's like all these things that could have happened, I think, does elevate the legend of Bo Jackson. But he is definitely the
Bo
the
knows, but we don't know Bo.
No, we tried to get to know Bo a little bit. We found out a little bit more about Bo. I found out that when he ran so fast, he was not running from the defenders. He was running from his brothers and sisters, trying to catch him to send him back home so he can get ass whooping from his mom.
I would have hit 300 home runs.
That's what he said on the air. He's like, when I was running from the I was fast. I wasn't running from the defense. In my mind, I hear the wind going through my helmet. He goes, I was running from my brothers and sisters. They were trying to catch me to take me back home from home to give me an ass whooping. He's like, that's what I was running from. So we got to know Bo a little bit. He said,
Nice.
me in trouble was like a fish in water.
It's like Will Anderson goes to the story of how his sisters used to put him in the closet, so he's
Yes.
scared of the dark.
That's
so
right,
he goes and lines up, and he just is terrified of his sisters and thinks
Yeah.
of being scared of the dark.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And Bo Jackson
That's
is
only just like
so fast, he's running from his mom giving him ass whooping because he was always in trouble.
Waterboy. That's just Waterboy back there.
Yeah, that's right. He's just picturing different
picturing
things. All right.
H2O.
You're drinking the wrong kind of water. We'll take a time out. We'll come back. Wrap up the show. Coming up next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, wrapping things up on this Monday edition of the show. 6:30 tonight when pregame starts for KU and Arizona. The Jayhawks getting a 1.5 at home on ESPN with a little big Monday. We'll see what happens with that game. I went and looked at the Patriots offense in the postseason, and then looked at it overall with Drake May against playoff teams this year. Patriots offense in the postseason in those 4 games averaged 15 points per game.
Yeah.
Against playoff teams. Because, they were all playoff teams that they went up against. Including the postseason and the 4 playoff teams they played in the regular season. The offense for the Patriots in those games averaged 20 points per game. That includes a 42-burger that they put on the Carolina Panthers. That they were a playoff team. Even though they were 8-9, they were a playoff team. They put 42 points on the Carolina Panthers. And including the 42 points in the one of the 8 games, they averaged less than 3 field goals or 3 touchdowns per game against playoff teams. And Drake May, in the postseason, ended up with more turnovers than touchdowns. And on the season, in the 8 games that he played against teams that were in the playoffs, made the playoffs, whatever, he averaged 216 yards passing per game, 65% completion, 10 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 6 rushing touchdowns, 5 fumbles lost, for a total of 244 yards per game rushing and passing, 16 touchdowns, 11 turnovers in the 8 games against teams that were in the playoffs.
They were the JMU of the Super Bowl.
I like it.
Schedule aided.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Tell that to
Emerald
Kurt
City Route
Cignati.
Runners.
Kurt Cignati.
It's hard. They earned the right to be there. I know their schedule was
they still
easy.
had to go and
they
win
still
the
had to go
games.
the games. They
Yeah.
still had to win the playoff games.
Yeah, they had to beat a backup quarterback and a double agent. They had to go and win those games.
They had no, but every year you'll have things that break your way. They had things that broke their way, and they took advantage of it. I mean, what were they supposed to do? Lose?
Yes.
Beforehand, they did what they were supposed to do. Drake May looked overwhelmed in the playoffs, and that's something you got to go back to. But Sam Darnold looked overwhelmed in big games before, and looking at this year, Sam Darnold was excellent the past 2. He was fine in the Super Bowl, but the week prior he was amazing against was it the Rams? So. This is a learning experience, and I still think Drake May's a good quarterback. I still think things are the right way in New England. I think they are now going to be there with Buffalo in the AFC East. But yeah, I don't think that next year this is a Super Bowl team. I don't know if they were necessarily the talent this year, but they found a way to get there, and that's what really matters.
I think this team is closer to the 2021 Bengals, or even a lesser version of that, or the 2006 Bears that made the run, made the Super Bowl, and then sort of went away after that. And it was like, oh, this is the beginning of something here. The Bears, look what Rex Grossman did and this defense and running game, and Devin Hester is a difference maker. And then they went 3 years without making the playoffs. Not saying that about the Patriots. I just think they are closer to the 06 Bears than they are a team that's just going to be a mainstay in the playoffs the next 3, 4, 5 years. The only thing is Mike Vrabel gives me more confidence that they can get it done.
Sure.
I'm just not sure that I fully believe in Drake May, the quarterback, some of the pieces that they have when they start playing better opponents and first place schedule and things like that.
They slot in with the Texans-ish, with the Broncos and the Chargers. They're that tier down of if things break right, they can make a run. When they don't have to face Patrick in the playoffs, you can make a run. I still think, to me, it's personally Chiefs, Bills, Ravens in the AFC. I need to see the Bengals stay healthy for once.
Well, the Chargers are the early on odds-on favorite to win the AFC West. Shorter odds to win the Super Bowl than the Chiefs, the Chargers.
Not even Broncos.
Not even Broncos,
now Denver fans are about to start saying, why is it the Chargers?
So yeah, because it's every year.
They win the
Chargers,
offseason,
that's what they
baby.
do. They're already the offseason champions. But shorter odds to win the AFC West and win the Super Bowl, the Chargers. There's 6 teams that have better odds than the Chiefs, shorter odds to win the Super Bowl, which is fine. Mahomes has the 4th best MVP odds. So we'll see. Program coming up next, KU, Arizona, tonight right here on Sports Radio 810
I'm a KU
WHB.
Jayhawk fan now.